All right, welcome in everybody to another episode here. Locker Room Sports, Big Talk Tuesday is what we call it here. You can come on by and put your voice in, give us your opinion on things, and bring up some topics that we all like to talk about. Tonight, topics we can got, as you can see right over here on the side, what's going on, fam? Everybody live in the show. Thank y'all for coming by and hanging out. Make sure you hit the darn like button while you're over there. I mean, just a thumbs up. It's real easy to hit. We appreciate it. The experiment that Cignetti has had at Indiana, is that something sustainable for college football? Is it good for college football? It's a good story. The guy's mother having MS and, him coming from the area down there in Miami and not getting a chance to walk on with the team and coming back down there and being heroic and winning the national championship and going perfect, undefeated Indiana Hoosiers take home the title. Did the experiment work out? What do y'all think? Can it be repeated by another school? Can you just something that you can just do now? We can dive in more on that. Also, the media has these big opinions about this topic, and it seems like they always have something to say in the lines of, it needs to be able to just go and just get people out of the portal, and he's developed them in his own way. But if he brought 17 guys, and they come over there for 2 years, I don't know if there's much development in 2 years of time when you just pay people to come play for you. He's not doing it. He's doing it the right way. He's not paying guys. No, that's not true. He did pay players to come from James Madison. Now, they're going to say, well, you can go to teams like Texas Tech, and they're spending these $40, $50 million salaries, these payrolls for these players. LSU, Kiffin supposedly has spent $40 million. That's something to talk about. Well, he went in year two. Well, different circumstances, different places, different conference, already different players would be, if we use LSU as an example for that, how can Indiana sustain what they do? Can they do it again next year? Can Cignetti come back and run this whole thing back and go win it again? Because that's what would be good for the sport. Now, all the media people are going to tell you that this story is good for the sport because they're real feely, touchy, and everybody's everything's just about their feelings and stuff these days. How you feel, not what's reality, but just what it feels like. Well, what it feels like right now, if it feels good or bad, losers it feels bad, winners it feels good, but those things go away. Feelings don't last potentially forever when we're talking about college football and a win for a game. We're not talking about life-changing circumstances when you have a child or something, that kind of feeling when you love your child forever. So, no, it's absolutely completely different. We can bring up a lot of different examples about that. The Big Ten demands. We did a show the other day. I left about a 2-minute spot up, put up a little short clip there, about a minute and a half, about Petiti. His demands are that he has pretty much laid down the law that he'll let SEC and the Big 12 and ACC play 16 games for 27 season, but he's not going to sign in for 2 years. So 27, 28 will be a negative. He said he'll let them have a 16-team playoff, but if he signs to have it for 27, he demands that in 28 and thereafter it'll be a 24-team playoff, which will be absolutely terrible for college football. Terrible. Nobody wants to see 4 lost teams that's like 5th in their conference, can't even compete and play with half the teams on their schedule and lose 4 or 5 games. Not like a 2-loss team playing for their conference title. It's different when you weigh out who you've played through the year. Strength of schedule definitely matters. So Sankey's put the SEC in a bad position in this particular topic because what it's done, it's created a whole different atmosphere to where now the SEC is going to play whether you think their teams are better or not. We can bring that up and we can talk about that too. It's about the schedule that they're playing, and they're going to play more ranked teams than the Big Ten. This just is what it is. Don't argue with me about it, and you can argue with the ranking committee. And so it's going to put the SEC teams at a disadvantage because now with them playing so many ranked teams, it's going to be particular that they're definitely still going to get in more teams in a 16-team playoff than the Big Ten, because we could see if we took this year's model at the end of the regular season who would be in that and who would be left out. So Petitti's looking to try to get to a 24-team model. I understand why, because he wants his teams in it, because the more teams he has in it, then the more money his conference will make. So what's going on, everybody? Glad y'all come by and hang out with us here for about an hour maybe. Big Talk Tuesday is what we like to call it. Drop some lines in the comments what you want to talk about and what else you got to say. Probably a roundtable topic. There's some offensive coordinator jobs kind of floating around, ideas for Ohio State. I wish Jeff was on here. He could break some of this down a little bit better. But the Duke quarterback, Mensa, is in the news big time right now. Duke, obviously they're going to be suing him because for not fulfilling his contracts. He signed a 2-year deal for $8 million. That's $4 million a year. And now he said, I think I may go to Miami and they can pay the other $4 million to pay Duke out for the part that I supposedly owe. Duke is saying, you're not leaving. You signed it. You put the pen to it. You collect it. Put your John Henry on there, and you got to stay. You can't just run off like that. Which football's a mess anyway, and that's what has made this viewing popular. This is what people want to see, because when they turn on the news, they see people fussing up north, about a particular topic or whatever they don't agree with, and they're paid. These people are paid actors to keep news interesting, to keep people watching, and it just gives somebody something to talk about, because really there's nothing else going on. So that's what they do for college football. They keep this type of stuff going on. It keeps people, riled up and keeps people talking about college football. Because right now, this year, as in numbers, money-wise, it's been more popular than it's ever been. So let's break this down and get into the matters of fact. Let's go over here and hit this up on the old Facebook page. And we'll go right here. And we'll go to this. And go here. Pause with me just 1 second. I'm going to share this over here on our group page. I'd like to come in and talk for about 5-10 minutes. Tell you what we're all talking about. And then we'll get into the matters of fact. So, the experiment. Did it work? Well, they did go undefeated. They really did. It was a great football game just to watch as a fan that has absolutely nobody in the game at all. I was kind of pulling for Miami. I like the brand of Miami better. They just have more to offer the game of college football. They just do. Indiana they don't. And it is what it is. It's not a knock on them. It's Indiana. It's a fun story. It's a feel-good story, but in reality, it's not something that's going to happen again. Very unlikely. So, takeaways from the game. 11:32. All right, thank y'all for coming by and hanging out here with me on Locker Room Sports Talk. Let's get into the game. The experience. Both teams come out swinging and slinging all over the place. The first quarter just kind of went amok. They kind of just punted the ball back and forth. Probably the most memorable moment right at the end. Miami's defense did bring a little bit more life. They go down 3-0, and Mendoza gets his lip busted. But their punters get warmed up, and Mendoza throws a 6-yard pass to the end zone to try to score, and just a bad pass. Just a bad pass all in general. So it starts out really slow, but the game builds and builds as the two champions here, the third, fourth place ACC team versus the number one team in the country, the Big Ten champ. Miami was lucky just to keep it close, I guess. They was ranked 10. 10 plays 1. When does 10 ever beat 1? Second quarter, It started out the second quarter. Miami goes 3-and-out pretty quick. I understand the idea. Cristobal is wanting to set up the run. It's getting to the second quarter. You don't want them to be able to build too much momentum, and they do that by running the ball. Well, Indiana only rushed the ball for about 50 yards the first half. So we're getting into the first quarter of play, second quarter of play here now. They just had that opportunity to, I think, do something special. And you'll hear me say this again. Miami never really tried to push the ball up the field really very much. And we probably think we know why. Probably because Mendoza's just, I don't know, he's just not real good, man. He's just not. But and I'm gonna get people slaughter me on comments, and that's fine. Y'all can think what you want as well as I can think what I want, and you can side with the media and think he's the best quarterback to ever play the game. I think he's a good quarterback that should probably honestly go probably a late second rounder kind of guy just by his abilities. And the difference is here, and I don't want to get off on him Mendoza because I'm not trying to trash the guy. I don't know him. He seems like a good Christian guy, and he's the kind of guy you want to marry your daughter. It's not personal what I'm saying. You fans, which is short for fanatics, have to be able to separate personal and business. On the business side of it, just as a business decision, I'm going to just say I think he just kind of misses out on some opportunities to be able to make better, bigger plays up the field to really stretch a lead on teams when he has this opportunity. And as I'm going to say right here, Miami goes 3-and-out. Cristobal really wanted to try to stretch the ball. That I don't know why he didn't. I think that was an opportunity at being down 3-0. You done pretty much give away the whole first quarter, as Miami has done in a lot of these playoff games this year, man. They've given away. Just go back and look at the box scores. You go look at the box scores of Miami and all their other games. They started slow, but they wound up just hanging around and kept hanging in there, and they kept hanging in there. And they could swap punches with most of these teams. And towards the end, the other team would just punch themselves out of the game. So Indiana's got the ball here. It's 3rd-and-8 on this particular play. And, well, they just decided they didn't want to tackle tonight. Miami guys couldn't tackle. I think was it Black? I think maybe their other tailback. He takes it up the middle for about 20 yards. All right. Now, Indiana has just a real simple little outplay. They make that big play up the sideline there. This is early in the second quarter. And again, Miami misses tackles. They get down there, to the 5-6 yard line. They run it in for 6. Now it's 10-0. 6 minutes left till the half. Then Miami does this again. I just mentioned to start the second quarter, Miami goes 3-and-out with 3 run plays in a row right up the middle. Now they go 4 run plays right up the middle again to get a first down. At this moment, Miami's had two. This is their second first down in the game. Holy crap. Since the game has started. This is their second first down, and we're just about at the 5-minute mark in the game till halftime. Now, 3 minutes left. Their first big shot, they throw the ball down the field, and then Tony has made 3 catches for 11 yards at this time of the game. It's a huge miss for Cristobal and the offense to not get him the ball a little more, bring him in maybe a motion here or there a little bit more earlier in the game. They did later, and he did score, so that is a big help. So trying to get him more involved, Miami is 10-0. They make a good run down the field, make a couple of plays, and they miss a field goal. It's 10-0, and we're going at halftime. He's trying to make it 10-3 to think it's going to be a one-score game because Indiana's going to get the ball coming back out after half. Mendoza was 12 for 17 at half. Please make note of that, and we'll come back to that and revisit that. Why I said what I said earlier. I'm future casting and telling you why I said what I said earlier. He was 12 for 17. Okay, 12 for 17 at the end of the half. So 17 balls, 12 completions in a half. Most prominent big-time football teams probably have thrown the ball 25 or 30 times by half, usually. Something like that by halftime. But that's okay. Everybody's got their own system. And I'm going to tell you why it worked for them also when we get to the end of this. So hang around for that. Indiana gets the ball to start it out. They just come out kind of flat. They're up 10-3. They feel like they're kind of running the show. Everything's kind of going their way, hunky-dory here. Miami really starts to bow their neck and really starts to play some kind of defense. I think they are, Ben. I think they're going to separate. And we'll be on. I'll probably come on Friday morning and we'll go over it. So Indiana gets the ball back. We're talking about Miami and Indiana title game. Starting in the second half, man, they get the ball. Miami said, "Hey, you know what? I mean, we got to tackle better. We're thinking way too much about this stuff." Number 24 over there, O'Brien or whoever, he's terrible. He don't for Miami. He's DB. Shout out #24. I'm sorry, buddy. You may want to go like run track there at Miami or, something like that. Or maybe change position because you couldn't cover a little super kid from Tennessee somewhere. It's going to be like a 3-star and you're a good athlete and you just had trouble all night long over there. Could do nothing. So they stuff them here. It's 3rd and 17. Indiana's got the ball. You're thinking Miami can stop them here. And Indiana's going to try to run the ball. He likes to run the ball. They don't throw it, he don't throw the ball but 20 times a game. They're going to try to run the ball, play the clock, and play defense. That's just the style of football they like to play. So they got them backed up, 3rd and 17. Well, guess what? Here's one of the second mistakes of the night for Miami. Yeah, face mask. Okay, yeah, great. So now it's first down. Scratch all the hard work you just did the last 2 plays to back them up, got a sack. Boy, they're really rolling right now. And then Mendoza goes out on a little scrambly run, and Indiana wound up having to punt the ball anyway. Now, right after this, Miami gets the ball back. About 11 minutes left till the third quarter. In the third quarter, Miami running back Fletcher takes off with a long touchdown run. We hear about the story about his dad, Big Mike, and what a great story. And the player from Indiana decided he would say something about who's your daddy, saying it to the guy that lost his daddy. So he put his hands on him. Hey, my daddy's dead, and you said something about him, you get your hands put on you too. So that's what happened in that situation. So Fletcher tears off, had the first touchdown of 2 on the night for him. Indiana gets the ball back after they kick on the ball, and you're thinking, well, it's 10-7. If Miami can get them on a stop here, this would be a good situation. And on 3rd down, what's up, Jeff? On 3rd down, here we're talking about 3rd quarter here for Indiana. Miami Fletcher just run a long touchdown, 11 minutes till 3rd. Indiana drops a pass on 3rd and 3. Now, Miami has the ball back here, and they wind up getting stuff back and make a big mess out of things. They keep trying to run the ball, and it's just not working out. Miami's just not going to taper away from this run, so they have to punt the ball, pin back at their own 20 or so. Yeah, I know. And we're going to talk about that kid from Duke, how that's going to work out. Got some news about that. What's Miami going to do next year for a QB? Yeah, so they block the punt, makes it 17-7. Malachi Tony hits a big run on the screen, and he takes it down to the 20, and then they get a 1-yard run in to make it 14-17. and Fletcher scores that other touchdown. So that block punt had really messed things up. Also, them missing the field goal right before half, that caused a huge problem, just huge problem. So now it's 14-17. Now we're getting into the fourth quarter here. Indianapolis goes for it on the fourth down. Throws that little back shoulder throw. Miami DB, number 24, bless him, he's not real good. He can't cover. So they just keep throwing over there. All right, and Indianapolis gets stopped on downs over here, so they go for it on fourth. QB draw, boom, 24-14, 9 minutes left. Tony hits a big screenplay on them, makes it 21-24, 6 minutes left. Number 24, Miami, is butt cheeks. 27-21's final. Vegas wins. Indiana gets the championship. Everybody loses their money that put it on Indiana. So 35 minutes in all for a factor, guys. 35 minutes Indiana held this football because they like to run the football. Now, right before at halftime, they had 53 yards rushing, and they wound up with, like 150, 160 yards rushing. So they wound up rushing a little bit more in that second half. Well, I told you before, remember, at halftime, let's see, Mendoza they had 53 yards rushing, and he was 12 for 17 at the half. 12 for 17. All right, remember I said that. Now, at the end of the game, he was 16 for 27. So that means the Heisman winning quarterback that people are saying is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football and to ever strap on a helmet, Fernando Mendoza, in the second half went 4 for 10 for 70 yards the second half. He made those two wild throws up the sideline that, thank God, his receiver turned around and looked, or it would have been out of bounds. And he threw two little slant passes. And they're little short passes, but the receivers made yards on them, so it gained them all together for 70. When, like, you throw a 10-yarder and a 10-yarder, they catch it, and it's, they gain 25 yards on that one. And then you get two more 10-yarders, and they run, extra 10 on those. That gives him about 70 yards. 4 for 10 in the second half. Now, I'm not saying it. Well, I mean, if you win the Heisman, you're supposed to just, be able to burn it up. 4 for 10 in the second half. Four for 10 in the second half. I just don't think those are real good numbers. Here's the secret sauce to that. We're talking about the experiment at Indiana. So how did the experiment go? Well, it seems like this. He left from the portal, but they're family there, and they stick together, and everything they do is together. Indiana, we are family. We're all here together. We're locked in together, and whatever he needs us to do, that's what we're going to do, and I'm going to do it, and that's what we're going to do here because that's what I've come here to do. I'm so thankful for all this, and we just stick together because nobody ever misses a beat. We're all together, and we hold hands every day at practice, and everything we do is always together, and I'll always do whatever I need to do for my brother. No, that's not. You're a liar. You're not doing stuff for your brothers. You're doing it for yourself because you got paid to get off the West Coast team out of a trash team, to come to a team that this guy brought his 17 players over, 14 of them being starters that are all grown men with a lot of experience. And he said, hey, I can put you around a very experienced football team. You being 22, almost 23 yourself, this will be a good opportunity for you. So the experiment worked very well. It's not a knock. It's not a pushback. It's not a, well, what are you trying to say? I'm just telling you what happened. Now, the real question is this, and then we'll move on to about this media talk, and it kind of ties in with this. Is this kind of football sustainable? Could Cignetti go to LSU or Georgia and do what he did at Indiana? If it's really good for football, then it's going to be to do what's best for the kids and do what's best for them, for the players. They're not kids, they're men. What's best for the men. And what's best for them is to have an opportunity to create a name and an image and a likeness for themselves to be able to, to sustain, have money, because now the NIL is a part of football. They're hanging around and playing longer. They're not going to the NFL early because they're making money. Not all, but still some. They're going to play those extra years, especially when they come from a James Madison team. They're going to be implanted with some Indiana players that stayed. Some of them did stay. He kept some of them. Probably, at least had to be 50 of their guys, because you got to have at least 70 or 80 people just to make a practice squad. They didn't even have a lot of depth because they didn't rotate a lot of people. And he started 14 of the 17 were starters from JMU. The other 3 were guys that would come in and out. And so the experiment worked. And here's the facts of the matter. Could Georgia LSU be done the same way that Cignetti can go? Let's just say he goes to LSU. Show up on campus, and they have, let's just say they have, just for talking sake, 5 5-stars and 10 4-star guys, linemen and receivers, tailbacks. Maybe kind of lineman or 2 is a 5-star, 1 receiver, 1 tailback, and maybe a DB and the safety's 5-star. Okay, they're talented guys, come out of high school, been to camps, they jump high, they run fast, they're track guys, or they're super large humans. Like, can Cignetti tell those guys at LSU, we're just using them for an example, hey, I'm bringing in my guys from James Madison. Guys, you're going to have to kick rocks out here on this. You're going to have to make do and make way for my players. Okay? I don't know if there's any problem with that, but it's just what we're going to do. And so what are we going to do there? What are we going to do here? All right, everybody's welcome in here. We got a good crowd hanging out in here. We do appreciate y'all for coming by. Come by here. Hit the thumbs up when you're scrolling by. Hang out with us a few minutes. Topic on the day right here, number 2, media talk. The real media talk and what they're going to say about how this team was built, how this team was taken over by Cignetti. And it comes from simple little quotes such as ones like this right here. Sig did it by developing guys, not going out and spending all these millions of dollars, just buying older players like Texas and Texas Tech. What? Sig did it by developing guys, not going out and spending millions buying older players like Texas and Texas Tech. What? Hello? He had 16 JMU guys that he bought cheap. No, he didn't spend millions. He got to spend a low amount of money because they were coming from a small school. So now they want it. Now they're going to want to get paid. So the whole media talk and media spin is just that. He did go out. And yes, he's not developing no players because he's buying them. They played with him for a year or two. I guess you could say he's developed them. But it's not like all these guys that – because out of those 16, 17 players, they had 2 All-Americans out of that group. I would probably say how many of them is going to go first-round draft picks? They're going to have some of them play in the NFL, but probably not a lot besides the quarterback. That's just, you can go look at Mel Kiper's grade. Don't argue with me about it. So the whole media talk is just, they say things that just don't make any sense at all. I mean, this is ESPN, like Ryan Clark and Stephen A. Smith. They say stuff like Sig did it the right way by developing guys, not going out and spending a bunch of money like Texas and Texas Tech did. They did exactly the same thing. Indiana just got a discount on players because of where they were. That's why. Because when Texas goes out and buys a receiver from Auburn that was the number one receiver in the portal, they spent about $4 million on him. Then they went out and got a tailback from North Carolina State. He was one of the top running backs in the portal. They spent money. Texas Tech bought the number one quarterback at that time. It was Daughtry. It wasn't Sam Levitt. Some people said it was Sam Levitt. Other places had the Doughty kid from Cincinnati that come to Tech. He got $10 million and 1% lifetime share of Campbell Oil. That's what Texas Tech done. That's what they did. And they went and bought a defensive guy, like the number one or number 3 or 4 guy, defensive end in the whole portal. Yeah, he didn't spend millions, so it didn't cost a lot to build this team at Indiana because they come from James Madison. I just give you a list of players. They ain't come from James Madison. The players that Texas, LSU, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, that they're getting from schools like James Madison. Auburn did get a player from James Madison. They're adding depth to their team of guys that are high-ranked talent. And that's the way it's always been. That's the way it's always been done. Because, number one, media talk seems to leave out the part where there's an order to how this is done. And the order is you have to do high school recruiting. It's going to cost a little bit to have good recruiting classes. And they're saying, well, that don't matter. It's still going to matter. It's still going to matter. Indiana's, what they done is not sustainable. It's a one-year, one-off thing. None of those guys are going to – there's 26 guys leaving that team. That's going to leave them how many players? He's going to have to totally reload that team, and they're already losing their strength coach. And as they start losing coaches, then you'll see the same thing happen to Bama. Slowly it'll be harder and harder to keep those guys around because they want to go off and do their own thing and be their own bosses, not just be assistants. They may keep them for another year or two. Kirby stayed with Nick for a long time. And when the Georgia job come open, he took it. That's where he played at. So when teams like Texas and all these cats are coming in, they know that this is their second team guys. It didn't have to be in Indiana. They come in for less money. They come in with a real want to play the game. And two, their experience is what helped beat some of these youthful teams because all these teams had all these first-year starting quarterbacks. Now, Dante Moore had come from UCLA, and he did play some. But he threw a lot of picks, and Chip Kelly was there at the time, and he pulled him. Didn't do a real good job. Didn't leave him in there enough to develop him and let him play some more. The same way when Mendoza played at Cal, offensive line wasn't real good, but he had to stay in and play because they just didn't have anybody else. So he just had to learn the hard way. And it sounds to me like this Indiana team is more like some of them had to learn the hard way and just had to play. And those guys at James Madison, they had some good football players. And a lot of times, like Saban said, those stars don't mean crap. Sometimes these guys are just they're either overanalyzed or they're under analyzed. It's just how it goes sometimes. And out of the 17 that he brought, 3 or 4 of those guys have been really good players for them and really helped out. But you know, those starters of the 14 that started, they're still 22. So that's, you know, over half the time those guys had to be able to pitch in and do their part. And they did. They were hungry. They were legitimate, and they wanted to win. And they had something on their mind to be able to play together. And they'd been together, and their age helps. When you're the same age as a professional football team from the NFL, experience can outweigh talent sometimes. And it's just not all the time. But if you get a team that's just young and they're just really reacting to their instincts, and we know that they can outrun this guy or outjump him, but this other guy's done it 1,000 times. Sometimes just knowing where to be with the ball and being in the right place can outdo talent, and that is what happened. And Cignetti done a good job at it. But the media has got to stop saying that he just, he did it the right way and didn't spend, didn't buy all these players. Yes, he did buy players. That's exactly what he did. It's exactly what he did. It's what Texas did last year. So I don't know how it's, they're going to, and then you're going to hear this more media talk. The best football team of all time. Please don't do that. Why does it have to be? Why can't Indiana fans just enjoy? Dude, it's like one day. Can they not just enjoy their team win their first ever national championship? Just say, we had a great season. It was a unicorn, and we're riding this unicorn with two hands holding on to the horn, and we're going to love every minute of this. We're going to throw a party when they get back to town, and we're going to ride this super high wave until the season starts next year. That's for the fans. Now, what's realistic is for the coaches today, they had to go back to work and start rebuilding for the guys that are leaving because it's family and we stick together, and there's nothing like this family here at Indiana. There's guys already hitting the portal and headed out because now that they won, and these guys that had some good plays here, like some of those tailbacks and stuff, the one that's going to be able to stay, or are they both leaving, or they're going to want to get paid. Now you're going to start running this. Well, this old Mark Cuban's he really going to put some money up front? He said he is. He started to be a fan now. He showed up a few weeks ago, like here during the playoffs. Hadn't seen him last year, none, just in the playoffs. He's a graduate there. And they're just fake, un-American fanboys. He's just really a piece of crap just in general. And now he's going to drop some money in the bank for them. Will they be able to keep some guys that they don't want to lose in the portal? And the biggest thing, like I said a while ago, they're going to be able to keep these coaches. Because it's going to take some money because they're all going to ask for raises now. They got a ring. If we're going to be called the best team ever, who was the offensive coach? So Shanahan there, right? One of them boys there. He's going to want some more money. And you can say it's a feel-good story. Ain't nobody working for free. They're just going to come back. Probably not even take a pay. They're just loyal to this fan base here in Indiana. Cignetti's he's not even taking a paycheck next year. This is just where we're at as a fan base. We're together. We're family. Bull crap. They get paid or they leaving, players and coaches, and that's just how it is. So we're going to see how it turns out because they get time now that their championship game's over. Their players are going to start looking today, tomorrow, the rest of the week. They get a time here for like 2 weeks that they can get in the portal and find somewhere else to go. So you can see if some of your favorite teams may wind up with some of these players from Indiana. May some of them portal out and want to come down south and play for Kiffin, play for that offense, be on TV at a higher rating, being in a higher rated area here to know that LSU is going to put out a good product. Lane Kiffin has proven he didn't have one great season. He's had several great seasons, not just a one-time thing. And the players know that, man. They're not stupid. Their agents are telling them, hey, this was great. Come in here, got you some money, got you a ring. Man, you built your image. You built a brand for yourself. And that's what you're supposed to do. So, are some of these guys going to start heading out? Now, let's see here. 42. All right, now, welcome by here. Thanks for locking in with us at Locker Room Sports Talk. Thank you for coming by. Hit the thumbs up if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel. We'll come on here every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Use about 6 o'clock. We have a great fan base. Let's go by here and see what old Jeff's doing. Yeah, Caleb Downs is headed out. Yeah, he's a fan now. He come on in here a few weeks ago with him, Jeff. Right. Did Rico Scott makes the decision by taking his name out of the portal and returning. Yeah, he did last week. Yep, it's true. Yeah, everybody's, that gets a lot of comments. The best teams ever. Yeah, the 2019 LSU team, wow, holy crap, what a football team that was. But if you want to go by scoring average, the 2020 Alabama team actually scored on average a point more than the LSU team. So it's more. So they actually scored more. And they didn't – the 19 LSU team still had their late season cupcake game. Bama did not. They played an all SEC conference game. You go over and look at their schedule. They played all their games. And wasn't a 6-game schedule like Ohio State, like they played up there. Remember? Well, if we play 6 games, then you can make us legit to play for the title. And with COVID and all that silly childish stuff, it's like, well, if they play 6, we'll let them in. Well, they played 6 games, so they let them in. And but Bama played all their games, all conference games, and won all of them. I just seems like, I don't know why people forget that. I know why. It's because they hate Alabama. Nobody will ever admit that 2020 team was, they were just as good. I know Joe Burrow was not Mac Jones, and I'm not saying that he was, but we're talking about a team thing here, like Indiana playing a full team sport where some of that personalized stuff kind of got mingled out because they didn't have one great player. It was a good team. I think probably the 17 Bama team that beat Notre Dame. This Indiana team's not beating them. They're definitely not beating no 0-1 Miami team. I don't know if they'd have scored on 0-1 Miami. I'm talking about Indiana this year, 26 versus 0-1 Miami. If they could have got close enough, I don't know. I'm throwing those little weird lob passes stuff, and I don't know if he can put it on a rope quick enough to beat out, Hall of Fame safeties and, to beat out Ed Reeds and those kind of guys. They would have intercepted him probably at least once, probably twice in the game. And they may have scored on one of those. One of them may have been a pick six. So best team ever. We gotta get out of here on that. So it's unfortunate that we live in a society that's so hyperbolic, and it started with, probably started with LeBron James. Nobody could have the opinion that he's not the greatest of all time. What are you talking about? He is his greatest. He's good. He's probably top 5 on most everybody's list. Probably, at least that. So that's true. But greatest of all time is Michael Jordan. So we just live in this area now where a team can't just be good and their fans just can't enjoy a win. It just has to be the greatest ever. Why can't you just say they had a great season? They had a great season, and the fans should be able to enjoy it without people ruining it saying they're the best team ever, because that's just asinine. That's silly to even say something like that. Silly, just altogether silly. So let's see here. Oh, yeah. Let's see what Jeff's about. 2020 Bama team average scoring 50 and defense allowed less than 15 points a game. Alabama with Princeton national championships. That's 20. Do I think Alabama No, ain't nobody getting that. Alabama, no. Them days is over. Saban won 6. That they ain't no head coach ever gonna win 6 championships at one school again. That means Kirby would have to win 4 more at Georgia. He'll retire before he wins 4 more. He may get another one. It's going to be spread around too much because money is letting guys stay longer in college, and they don't have to leave to go NFL sooner. So the league is getting older. It's what I said months ago, probably, months and months ago. This era of college football we're seeing now, the big top 12 teams, is NFL Junior League. And teams that are out of the top 20 and below are regular college football teams, and then other teams like the North Texas is, or Rice, or Missouri States, or Kennesaw States. Those are going to be schools, it seems like, where these guys out of high school are going to go like your 3-star guys are going to wind up at those places, and then they'll hang around there for 2 years and get developed some, and then they're going to transfer on up and play with the bigger schools. They'll be 21 years old by then. They'll have played a good bit of snaps. Then they can roll in here to one of those top 12 teams if they're good enough. And the ones that don't, they'll stay at the lower, SEC schools like Arkansas, Auburn, Kentucky, Mississippi State. They'll stay around those 4 schools. And that's just what it's going to be. And at some time, like I said, the NIL keeps those older guys there. So for a while, we finally got away from that COVID year to where these guys are getting to play another year longer. Now it's going to add another year because they're getting paid, so they're going to stay another year or 2. I mean, look at this. TJ Finley's been to 7 schools. It's crazy. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. So those are some facts and some talks and some opinions and just some matters of fact. So the experiment did work for Indiana. Hats off to them for winning their first national championship. And nobody else can make excuses, and they found a formula that worked for them in this special particular case of where the cupboard was very empty to a school that they went to, and it allowed Cignetti to bring a very mature group in of 17 guys, 14 of them being starters, and had played 5 years or so. And it went along with some of the guys that he kept around. And then there's other, 15, 20 other guys from other, I think one of those tailbacks was from Indiana State, maybe. Is that right? Or Missouri State, one of them. So some other guys he added, like everybody else is doing. He added pieces from the portal, about 20 other guys to go along with his 20 from James Madison, and he put together a stew and a recipe. Got him a quarterback that's really smart, understands what's going on very well. Don't ask him to do much. Don't ask him to throw the ball up the field. He's not throwing up two deep bombs like you've seen, or no Joe Burrow big arm throws. I don't know why people keep saying he's got a big arm. They ain't asking him to do it because it's stupid to ask him to do it because he don't have to do it. So you'll find out during the combine what kind of big arm he has. And then when he gets to play and he's got real men, other men from teams like he had, they're going to be on the other side of the football now when he's at Vegas playing in the NFL and trying to rip his face off. And they're not going to care if he gets his little whip busted because he faked the run and then wanted to run at the DB and kind of, fake him out. And he got his lip busted and everybody got mad about it. He didn't seem to bother him. He just jumped up and played. I like that. Got a little dog in him. So we're going to find out. And it just is what it is. So it worked out for them. That project will not work everywhere else. It could at some places. It could be at where a place is so bad. It could be was trying to think because a lot of Auburn fans really are pouring on this Indiana. Hey, look what they done. Jay, did you see that? John, look. Signetti 2 year 2. We got this. Gaulish is bringing in his guys from USF. It's just like Signetti did. It's the same thing. So he can bring in his guys from USF to Auburn like Sig did to Indiana from James Madison. About the same amount of players. Know his style. A lot of these guys are a little bit older. You know, hey, wait a minute. Gaulish can win the national championship at Auburn year 2. Whoa! Let me remind you what I told y'all when y'all started that. I think a lot of that's calmed down because their fans, number one, looked at their schedule and went, yeah, Auburn's schedule is NFC South, North, whatever. Very hard. Very tough schedule. Auburn is not going to be able to roll out there like Indiana has for the next 4 years. Go look at Indiana's schedule. Their first month of football, they don't even play a Power 5 team at all. The best team they may play may be a 5-4 Pinokie community college. Yeah, just go look. Their first month, Indiana, just like they did this year, their first month of football, they are playing nobody. So it gives the team a time to adjust and see what they have and how's this going to work and how's this guy working out, and they can move people around and kind of figure out what happens. And because Indiana's first real game they played, I think it was Wisconsin, Mendoza got sacked 5 times. Well, they were still shuffling and moving stuff, and they figured it out after that. And like, okay, we got a good recipe here. They only going to play like 2 ranked teams all through the year. They don't, their whole first month, they don't have to play any team with a pulse or a heartbeat. You know, so they've figured out a way to do great with this. So I would suggest, why don't everybody do that? Texas, why would you want to open the year and play Ohio State? Ohio State, why play Texas? Why would you want to go play Texas? Jeff, why would you want your Ohio State to play them? That's what Notre Dame's doing. Notre Dame's getting off the bus. Nope, we ain't playing USC no more. Nah, it's all right. We'll play Idaho State, Wyoming Tech, Cal Poly, North Texas State, Missouri State. Notre Dame's just going to load up with about 6 FCS teams, I guess, because the committee's just going to look at the wins anyway. They'll see Notre Dame's got 10 wins. They're probably going to play 1 ranked team. They get in. They're going to get them in the playoffs. They'll be healthy. They'll have no players hurt. They've not had to play anybody. But there's only one downside to that. A little bit of that is this. The thing is, are your guys going to be tested and ready? Well, we know they'll be healthy. But if they line up with a team that's made it in, which I don't see many SEC teams are probably not going to make it in. They thought we were going to go to 16-team playoffs. That's why Sankey went to 9 conference games, because they're going to have more losses. Because it's not just the Big Ten and SEC is actually swapped. The Big Ten and the SEC have actually swapped is what the deal has happened. Before, Bama, Georgia, LSU were kind of the top bloods of the SEC. Auburn coming there 1 year, 2 years. They won one time, then they went and played for it again. So there's really 3 kind of heavy teams. And in the Big Ten, they had a pretty good, decent set of 8 or 10 pretty good teams. Not just blowing everybody out, or Ohio State's, when Urban was there, he was always winning a lot of games. Well, then Harbaugh started to come along, and things started to change a little bit. And now that Saban went away and Coach O left, and things moved around, and all the SEC coaches started freaking out and started firing everybody. Florida become irrelevant. Billy just never could put it together down there. Well, now we're seeing that the SEC has got a solid group of probably 6 teams. They're pretty good. A 6 solid group of teams. But the Big Ten has got like 3 good teams. And the rest of them are kind of, well, I don't know, man. I mean, well, by God, they come down here in the bowl games and they whooped up Iowa, beating Vandy and them. Yep, they sure did. I mean, in Tennessee, they got whooped Illinois. I mean, they showed up down there, and boy, I'm telling you what. Well, Tennessee had 14 players opted out. LSU had 16 players opted out. You can see them all standing on sideline or sweatpants. These Big Ten teams show up for the bowl games, and they want to prove the point. Their coaches know what they're doing because they're trying to recruit. Hey, hold on, young man. Come in here and let me talk to you. We'd like you to come play here. Well, Coach, what'd y'all do? We beat the SEC team in the bowl game. Oh, wait a minute. You did? I might want to go there then. Because kids ain't smart enough, most of them. Ain't smart enough to follow along the whole cycle of the team and who all they played and understand that teams had kids opt out. So it's flipped around. I just think it's all it is. It's just a cycle of football. Remember, Bama won it 3 years in a row. Like they won it 4 years in a row, then lost it like Ohio State. What was it that year that they beat Bama? Urban Meyer, Zeke was tailback, Ohio State. They tried to run it up on Saban down there. And then they won 3. And now the Big Ten's won 3 in a row. So do you think they'll win it next year? I don't know. That's a great topic for another day. So right here. Again, thank you guys for coming by and hanging out with me for a great show. Big Talk Tuesday. It's been a good one. Let's hit the peanut gallery before we hit our last topic. Jeff's going to talk about. Hi, Jeff, I got a question for you. On October 27th calendar, Ohio State visits Notre Dame. Hope y'all win. Indiana. Okay. Jeff, I'll do this before we move to Big Ten talk. I ain't going to clip this out. So this is just topic for Jeff, the OC coach there at Ohio State. I heard today that Coach Daly, the tight end coach, may be the new offensive coordinator, or they're talking about the quarterback coach at the Bears, J.T. Barrett. Maybe him. He played there at Ohio State, was quarterback years ago. What's the word on the street there, Jeff? What's going on with that? With these offensive coordinator jobs at Ohio State, what the heck is going on? And then we'll talk about I've already clipped that, so I'm just going to clip these two. I'll let Jeff think about that and type on there. Just asking about offense. Coach Daly or J.T. Barrett, they're going to be OCs there at Ohio State. We'll talk about it. Now, Big Ten demands. Tony Petitti says that they're not going to get in enough teams because they don't have enough higher ranked teams. So he wants there to be a 24-team playoff, which is absolutely ridiculous and disgusting and will ruin college football. It's already pretty much watered down as it is. That he will let the other conferences play a 16-team playoff next year in 27. He'll sign off on it. They're going to play a 12-team again this coming year for 26. He'll sign it next year, 27. They'll go to 16-team playoff. But then for 28, they must go to a 24-team playoff so the Big Ten can get in more teams. So there's no other way for them to get them in because this year, if they would have went to 16, you may have got You may have got Iowa, or I don't even know if Illinois was even ranked up at the time. But teams like Vanderbilt and Texas would have got in. Notre Dame would have made it in also. Then you have South Carolina's and Tennessee. So it would just been more SEC teams, and Petitti knows that, so he don't want to do 16-team. He wants to skip that. We'll let you play 1 year 16-team playoff, and then we're going to jump to a 24-team playoff. And if we don't do 16 to 24, I'm not signing we're going to do 16 for 2 years, and then he's not doing that. He said he won't sign it. So that's what's going on in Big Ten. That's their demands. And when them being, 3-time national champions here at Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana, what are you going to do about it? Well, I just tell him you don't have to sign nothing. They can just go play their own football and go play in their own sandbox, because he wants to be the college commissioner of football so bad. That's what he's got a huge ego trip. Well, Sankey and the other guys finally put their foot down and said, ACC guy, no, that's not what's going to happen. This is going to be a 3-1 here, and we're going to play 16 this year and next year. And if you don't want to sign it, that's what everybody else is going to get on board and do. So you can just, I guess, play your own thing and have your own TV rights with Fox, and we'll just stick down here with ESPN and good old SEC network, and you can just have Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan and maybe Indiana, if they can come in there again, and y'all can have a 4-team playoff and play it on Fox. And y'all can just put all your teams in there and just have a round robin at the end of the year and have all 20 Big Ten teams all play each other. Because Petitti says he's not signing a deal to have 2 years of 16-team playoff. He says we're going to do one 16-team playoff, and then we're going to go to the 24. If not, I won't sign it. So let's see here. What we find about the offensive coaches. Yeah, he said Coach Daly, the tight end coach, is already there, could be moved into OC job. And Todd Monken's name also come down, worked at Georgia there for those years when Georgia won it back-to-back. And then also their coach, JT, he's the QB coach at the Bears. Went 3-1 against Michigan. They can't call plays worth of crap, and that's why these games. Yeah, if y'all just won it, you gotta leave old Coach Day alone. He does a good job up there. So those are okay. Let's make sure some of those rumors were true. The things that I was hearing was. So we'll keep our eye on that. Keep you on the page, and y'all go by the Facebook page. Man, we have grown so much. It's just kind of crazy how much we've really grown. And I really appreciate you guys coming by and hanging out with me here tonight on Big Talk Tuesday. Last topic, we'll wrap this up, and it's just going to be a minute. Duke's quarterback, Meshew guy, he says that Duke is going to be suing them through the state. He signed a 2-year deal worth $8 million, and they've already paid him his money, I guess, that whoever he goes to, and it's supposed to be going to Miami University and play with Coach Cristobal, replacing Carson Beck, because I don't know who they're going to get, honestly, to replace Beck. That's going to be interesting. So somebody's going to have to pay out that other $4 million to Duke. Duke is signing today, I think it was, a restraining order withholding him and forcing him to stay with the team. Me personally, just how I am and how when I coached and stuff and was around kids and stuff, if the kid don't want to play, I don't want him here. If you don't want to be here, I don't feel like they're not going to give effort. It's like they probably could sabotage the team at that age, at a young age, no. But they're not going to give any effort. And then they're just kind of getting in the way of all the kids that want to be there and want to be part of the team and want to do something special to be around each other and have a good time. And you have that one kid that you have to drag him out of the car to practice and just don't bring it. So I would suggest that Duke, if your QB Mincy don't want to be there, just let him go. I know you spent money and stuff on him, but until we get a commissioner of college football and somebody that can really step up and make some kind of real tangible rules of something that we can go by and really make them sign, those are contracts, but real legit law abiding, binding contracts to where, you can't leave when you locked in at a school, and not unless you're already graduated. There could be exceptions for that. Or if you have an emergency in the family, you could probably portal out. But just to leave because you want to go play for a better team, then, he played good where he's at. Threw for like 3,500 yards, 4,000 yards, something crazy. But could he do that, at Miami? I mean, they're both in the same conference. They play a lot of the same teams. I don't know. May give him a better opportunity to be seen more on TV, maybe playing with Miami. I'm sure they get more TV time than Duke. So I don't know how this is going to turn out. I would suggest that they better get a handle on this, because without them, the players, without these players even having to lock in on this, on what they're signing to be, legitimate, coming here and be a part of the team. I don't know. I guess it's just without that, what little piece of fabric they have left, there's nothing left, man. There's just nothing left for these players. They can just do absolutely whatever they want to, just whatever they want to at all costs. Coaches have no control of anything that's going on. I think it's a terrible, terrible situation. Okay. Yeah, he is. He's in the portal. Mendoza's little brother, Alberto Mendoza. So that's about it for today. So we got here Big Talk Tuesday. Thank y'all for coming by and hanging out. And we thought we would bring this up and talk about the the experiment. Kind of how it's went. I guess it went pretty good for them, right? Y'all think so? I mean, it won them a national championship, right? Indiana hangs on to take it to the whole idea of them being able to do what they've done and the experiment to be successful. The thing is, there's so much look for last take of the day. The experiment did work and they were successful, but is it sustainable to a degree of where is this a type of blueprint that you could say that you could just lay this paperwork out and anybody that walking by could just go, oh, wait a minute, what is this? Huh. College football 101, how to win a national championship. Let's see here. Okay, you take both teams and you take your players from this one and keep these and get those old guys, bring about half. Yeah, then the other half be from over here, get some portal, 30 portal. Okay. Is that sustainable is it just, it's just so easy. It's just a blueprint that Alex Golesh could do it at Auburn, that Lane Kiffin's going to come in year two. And you'd think, well, with, Kiffin's experience and being such a great coach, surely he could do it. I mean, what's Signetti ever won before any of this ever happened with him? So ain't there a possibility of a chance that a guy that we've considered to be a way better coach could do it? Jeff says it's not sustainable that the players have to buy in to the plan, and most won't. So what you're saying is, Jeff, that the same things that's always been true. The same things that's always worked for not just football but anything in life. Be disciplined about what you're doing. Build from the ground up. Have good characteristics of players, guys that want to show up, and that want to be a part of something that's bigger than them. And understand that there's a potential for them to really have an opportunity to make some money and to build some value for themselves. And just to, like we said, to play together and to stick in there and kind of tough it out. That was the experiment. That was, the part of the whole branded idea that, well, if Indiana can do it, anybody can do it. Don't click on that. That is weak as tater water, as Papa said. And tater water's pretty weak because it ain't been cooked yet, and it ain't shine, it ain't strong. It's kind of where the reference comes from, by the way. So you're going to hear a lot this week from media places. You're going to watch ESPN, and you're going to hear a lot of these people talk that are, because you got to remember, most of these media people even McAfee's from the East Coast type of guy, that even ESPN, like the main branch itself, up north, and a lot of these guys are, from the north, and they're really going to sell their idea of what they think, because them being northerners, of course, they're going to pull for their northern team. There's not a lot of southern people like myself, Crane and Company, Josh Pate, and most of the locked on Alabama or Auburn, like Zach or Luke and all them. Those guys are from the South. And it don't do me any favor or it don't bring my life any higher meaning to say that it's not sustainable and that this is not a one-off that you can just repeat and have a blueprint piece of paper that you can just sell a book to and everybody can pick it up, like buying snake oil out of the back of the truck in Mayberry. That's the difference. That's the whole difference in the idea of selling an idea or selling a plan, because every place is not the same, because it's just not. Every place is different. Yeah, he's from up on the coast. Now, if they want a title, what's going to happen with the current roster? Are they going to ask for money? Of course, Jeff. You're thinking way too smart. You've been living down here in the South too long, Jeff. So, as time will tell, and as the week goes on, you're going to have to hear more and more and more about all the flim flam, all the hoopla about everything and all the going on around college football and how Indiana is the greatest team to ever play the game. Don't mention no one Miami. They're the greatest team ever. Or some of those Nebraska teams, back in the early 90s or the 80s. Just forget about Bobby Bowden in those years, Florida State and all them, all the years they won it. Oh, you are? Okay, Jeff, sorry. So this is what you're going to have to hear And only at, real places is somebody going to come by and give you some real actual truth to tell you, I don't have anything to gain. I don't get paid from any university here in the South. Just looking at this logically, you have to understand that there was an open caveat at Indiana to where they were winning 2 or 3, 4 games a year for years and years and decades and years. Any improvement they could have had would have been good. So they had a trial run last year, and he figures out, hey, you know what? First of all, we got a free month to start the season off with that we don't play really anybody. I think it'll give a good opportunity for us for the whole month of September for us to be able to test out our team and see where we're at. And we're going to have to play Oregon at some point. First-year starter up there for them. And we're going to have to run across Ohio State. That's on a down year for them. Still a good year. They got to start a new quarterback. They lost one of their big receivers. Their defense is not going to be even near as good. I didn't know at the time Penn State was going to pull a flip job and fire Franklin after all those years. And Michigan is still in the middle of something. And then they lost their coach, which you kind of couldn't plan that either. So they just kind of hit a good year. Indiana did, to where you caught their 2 better teams in the conference having first-year quarterbacks, Ohio State and Oregon, and your only other 2 better teams, Penn State and Michigan, which has just won it. And Penn State, was deep in the playoffs. Losing a player here or there, quarterback, or one of them lost their top defender, and they lose their coach. So it kind of puts things in a spiral, and it's just a great perfect storm. And for a team like Alabama that carried the SEC for years and years and years, absolutely there's many cases that you can make for Alabama to say, hey, you know what? Some of those years there when Alabama won it, the conference wasn't really good. Some years they did have some good teams. I thought that year that they beat Notre Dame, they played Georgia late there in that game. Georgia lost on the last play of the game. They just actually run out of time. Murray threw a couple of passes there, moving them down the field. They didn't have no timeouts. And they just run out of time. And I think Georgia would have beat Notre Dame also that year. So hats off to, that's why these SEC fans, guys, y'all can't be mad. You can't be tore up and, because Indiana won it, and you can't think about it that way. You have to remember that there's been times that that Bama, sometimes, man, you're just lucky. That year Auburn won it. The Kentucky game, they nearly lost that one. They had to go to overtime with Clemson, I think, that same year. You can go back and check me on that. They had to go to overtime with Clemson that year. And they barely won. And I think, I don't even know if Clemson won 5 or 6 games that year. They didn't even win a lot of games. So sometimes you're just lucky and things just happen to fall the right way. And the ball just bounces your way. Bama blocking that 2 field. When is a team – listen, let me ask you a question. When we're talking about Indiana and kind of their luck and how it played out for them. When's the last time you seen a college football team block 2 field goals in the same game? Alabama done it to beat Tennessee that year. They don't win that game, and Texas don't get a second added back on the clock when Nebraska was beating them. And the dumb Kong Su was just choke slamming people out there. Those two teams don't meet up. Colt McCoy gets his shoulder hurt off a weird play. They were coming back in that game. And I know Bama won it, and fans can be excited because Bama did win it. I was. It was a good game. But if it wasn't for Eric Anders, the defensive guy at Bama, that blindside blitz off the backside there and sacking quarterback at Texas, the backup, and then fumbling the ball, they were already within – we were only a score up, I think, at the time. I'm just making those examples to show all the way back to that till this season of 2025. Coaches getting fired here, quarterbacks going down there. Indiana having the older group of experienced players in a league of kind of unexperienced players, in that league. Where do some of those other teams rank that they played? Iowa's not a terrible team. They played them really good. Penn State has some players, but they just couldn't put stuff together. They were in the middle of this coaching fire and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just, making all these examples to say, well, first-year quarterbacks and fired coaches and this team having their top defender out, probably didn't, it did. I'm sure it helped some. I'm sure it helped them play when Miami was missing their best defender, missing the first half of the game. I don't think you should be able to take a guy out of a game. We got to stop throwing kids out of games because it made a different reaction for Miami because their best defender had to set out the first half of the next game that didn't even have nothing to do. He got thrown out of a game. Okay, you threw him out. He had to go out the rest of the game. That should be the punishment. Why does it carry over to the next game? That's so stupid. Don't throw them out at all. Pros don't get thrown out. These kids are making money. Fine them. Just find him $5,000. Say, hey, write a check $5,000 your favorite charity. You get hit for targeting. 15-yard penalty. Write a check to $5,000 to your favorite charity. Let's just do that. So those little quirky things that just happened to fall in Indiana's lap, those circumstances were they brought on by purposeful things? No, not really. Just things circumstances that just kind of happen in this world. The way things just kind of happen coincidentally, and they were in the right place at the right time with the right team and the right coach that had the right mindset. They could take those older guys and go out there and play with these younger guys and just outthink them. Just outthink them. So what else can you do? There's nothing else you can do. You just go out there and make the best of it. And yeah, Indiana. Yep. Yeah, that was a trendy question. Like, well, okay, they're going to bring in all these, players from AAC or other schools are getting these players from Cal Poly. Is the SEC down a little bit this year, and then are they doing it right? But are they still doing it the right way, Jeff? Is that still the right way to go out and get high school recruits? Is that still the right thing? Or can you just build a team? Can you just build a football team completely off just going and getting bracket players from smaller schools? Can just go and get some older guys? I don't know. Y'all tell me. Honestly, podcast people, thank y'all for hanging around. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Love all you guys very much. And if you're listening to this on the podcast version, you can go back Sunday if you didn't already and catch the show. And if you don't, if you want to share it with somebody, let them know that it's not just on Spotify, but the podcast itself, it's just a podcast, listening only. There's no video to it. It's also on YouTube. You can go to the homepage and scroll down there, and it'll say podcast, and you can just play from there. And you can just back out of it, hit your home button, have your earbuds in, have your phone in your pocket, and just listen to the show that way. We sure do appreciate all the people that's come by and hung out with us tonight. Couldn't do it without all you guys, Jeff and Ben, everybody. Thank y'all for hanging around. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Podcast people, again, you too. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Share the podcast with somebody. We just Locker Room Sports Talk. That's what I like to do. And the season's fixing to end, and there's not going to be a whole lot to talk about. Not going to be a whole lot to talk about at all. So can we come on here and hang out? Some people come by on the live page and see us on, and Locker Room Sports. Click it right here. And we'll go back over here. So that's the idea. So what are we working towards then? Can these teams for sure just hand out the opportunity to be able to sustain just winning cultures of football, to go out and just win with just older guys? Oh, wait a minute. Is this breaking news? Hang on a minute. Let's go suggesting maybe have some coaching firing. What's going on, everybody? Offensive line coach Kapilovic, is it question mark fired or hold on? Okay. Yeah, so here's the thing then. Is it the opportunity for smaller schools to go out and be able to grab some of these older players and make themselves a marketable team? Because Indiana is now marketable. They now have that opportunity to show that they've won games. Their coaches know how to win, and they can put a winning product on the field, right? Sure. The problem is that you're going to hear all week on media. Chargers, okay. Jeff thinks that the SEC is still doing it the right way. He is still doing it the right way. And the SEC is still doing it the right way by recruiting. However, the players want money, so they don't stay and be developed. Okay. Well, here's the thing, Jeff. Then Right. I agree. I'm not saying you're wrong. You know how I do. Jeff, you've been on here for how long? 3 years now? 3 or 4 years. Devil's advocate, other side of the book. You're right. So if money's keeping players around, then I'm not a business major guy. Jeff knows I'm a history major from Jacksonville State. But I ain't crazy. Is it to say that we're going to have players to be able to stay, and NIL is keeping them around? But what, like Jeff said, that they're going to, the players want money, so they don't stay and be developed. But money can keep a lot of players. Like you was talking about Alabama earlier, they kept about all their defensive starters, but really one. Quay started. Let's say James started, but he didn't start by like half the games. He didn't start by half the games for the year. So if money can, as kids are just moving around looking for more money, that would be the more correct statement, right, Jeff? That's the more, they're looking for more money. So we have to have, I'm trying to think of this, is because in the NFL there's a set value to players, and it's just, the market is set by other players that go out ahead of you, right? So if this one defender goes out and he's considered to be a top player, or if he, see, here's the thing, if he played it, let's say he played at Bama, we're using them for example. Say if he played it at Georgia. Georgia won the ACC this year. We got to stop using Alabama. Alabama's been, they're overused. They lose to the number one team, and Ole Miss won that weekend. I'll be darned if they ain't talking about Alabama losing. Poor Ole Miss. They won. They beat the SEC champs. But they're still talking about Bama. So let's say a defender leaves from Georgia, and he's SEC champ, got in the playoffs, had a pretty good run, and he goes and he's a lineman, defensive lineman. He gets $500,000. Well, I guess he's going to set the market value. So now another defensive lineman wants to leave from LSU, and he wants to go out. He wants to be considered for a position at, so the Georgia guy went to A&M, and the Bama defensive guy, he wants to go to Ohio State. So now he's going to ask, hey, you know what? We finished second over there. That guy I just left had 33 tackles. I had 23. If he got 500,000, I think I should be worth 400. Where does this numbers come from? How, this is, we're already in the weeds now. I'm glad y'all want to, I'm just talking football because we're not going to be on much longer. Probably Thursday and the next week. I don't know what we're going to have to talk about. Probably take a week off, we may do a Super Bowl something like that week for the Super Bowl game. Maybe talk about those teams. A lot of people on here, this show is really based around college football, and I love that because that's what I love. That's what this audience love, and I want to give the audience what they want. We'll talk a little NFL, but they're not really interested in it. Little college basketball, some. You'll have a little group come in there for about a month during March for a couple of shows. But so anyway, what creates that? What creates the value? And podcast listeners, you are getting a little extra bonus here, and people's hanging around and coming in and out of the page. And shoot, man, y'all hang out. We're just talking football. It's about to be, it is over. College football's done. We just had a national championship. Spring will start in about 40 days. And as kids come in out of the portal, out of this Indiana Miami classes, stay on our Facebook page, and I share that stuff all the time. We've got to figure out a value of that player. These are just random examples. A defender left and went from Georgia to Texas A&M. Just example. got 500,000, come from this team, 33 tackles. This guy from Bama wants to go to Ohio State, and he has 23 tackles. He's going to assume his value is 300,000. Based on what? The coach has to literally turn the film on and decide what he wants to do, and decide if he wants to spend that money to add you to the team. Of course, some teams are not looking for starters. A lot of teams are looking for depth, especially your Ohio States or A&Ms, bigger schools. But sometimes they have spots to fill, like Alabama needs a center. They went and got a guy from Cal Poly where their tight end come from, Cuevas, which was really good for them. This center has 1,100 snaps. Yeah, it'd be a great center. It's got a lot of play time. We've got to figure out a market value. There has to be some kind of rules set to where these players get this, how the same way the NFL has their setup done, and what it's called free market value. It's just open market, free agency, period. Lane Kiffin talked about it 2 or 3 SEC media days ago, maybe 2 years ago, back in 23 probably. That's a big problem because this guy may be worth this much. At the kid from Georgia goes to A&M, he gets 500,000. Well, he's in the portal and he wants to go to A&M. Maybe he's from Texas. Well, maybe Texas Tech calls and says, "Hey," or maybe SMU calls, smaller school. You're going to fight for a position at Texas. We do have a guy, but we think you could be the guy. But at SMU, we'll give you the same money, but you're guaranteed to start. Now their decision on not just based on money, but playtime. What's your decision there? Do you want to go? Do you want to go play right now? You're let's say you've already said a freshman year, you're a sophomore, and you played that year, and you're coming into your junior year. And really, your last 2 years, you really need to push and get some film in and create an image for yourself to be draftable, right? To be able to take your brand and build it up. But SMU is not going to be on TV that much, Coach. Yeah, I get the same money, but I will get a lot. I'll definitely get a lot more film. I may be able to dominate out there a little more. But I could play at a big brand like Texas. Man, the choices, there has to be something to where there's a set amount to be able to go by. Ross wouldn't pay them. That's why they left. Examine the top 2 quarterbacks in the portal. One gets paid 1%. Yeah. And Levitt gets 5.5. Yeah. And he's talking about guys that 1% he's talking about is from Campbell Oil Company at Texas Tech, the Doughty quarterback from Cincinnati. For life, he gets 1% of that oil company. Well, my God, who can compete with that? Auburn can't do that. Tennessee, they can't. So now you have teams creating out of their own good circumstances, a kind of like a monopoly. So where you're just going to be the one, you're just going to go out there and get all the best players. That just means you're going to win it. Well, we know that's not true. $10 million a year for life. What is the kid going to do? He's 20. How old is that kid? Let's just look that up. QB at Texas Tech. QB sounds. Let's say front QB Doughty currently is at Texas Tech. Yeah, so he was born in October 01. Dude, he's 24. He'll be 25 this year. So this kid, he's a man out there playing. He's going to play this year at Tech, and he's going to get $10 million a year for life. What do you think he's going to pick? He don't have to. He don't have to go to the draft. It don't matter what happens to him. $10 million a year. Let's just see here. Interest on $10 million a year. Approximately interest on $10 million a year varies greatly by investments, blah, blah, blah. It could be from around 40,000 basic averages to potential of $1 million a year from a high-risk private equity. For oil stock, based dividend yields for major oil companies and energy sector ETFs, $10 million investment in oil stocks could generate between $240,000 to $580,000 annually dividend income as of early of this year. Potential 10% plus total returns, including stock price and appreciation, blah, blah, blah. ExxonMobil, these bigger companies. Guys, he's going to lowball at a lower company. We're talking about the quarterbacks and how much they're getting paid, and how does other smaller, regular, normal schools that don't have oil stocks like Texas Tech does pay their quarterback 1% lifetime dividends. The annual interest, he'll make lowball $250,000 on the interest of the 1% he's going to get for life. If it's, Jeff says, about $10 million a year, we'll just take that number and see, if that's correct. We'll just run with it and say it is. He can go pro. I mean, if he really loves the game, I guess, but to just whatever his degree is, just go do that. I mean, you ain't got to do $250,000 a year to do nothing. Where does it stop? Where do we get this idea of one team can do that? These other teams can't do that. So now you're creating an unrealistic goal in a fantasy land where let's say Wake Forest. What are they going to – how has – well, I tell you what's happened. Another media hit right here. Stay tuned for this one. Tell you what it's done. They started paying these players. It's equaled out where Bama and Georgia can't win it every year. Well, it looks like it's just evened it out if it's $10 million a year for life, no interest. Oh, I know. But I'm saying he don't even have to touch his amount of money, Jeff. I'm just saying he could live off the interest of that money at $250,000 a year. Yeah, he'll get $10 million a year. He you know what I'm saying. He ain't got to touch the principle of it. He can just draw the interest off that money. Just the interest alone. So if NIL keeps it where it's SEC, that's what's happened. That's why they failed. NIL started in 2020. Michigan, see what happened in 21. Bama. Michigan beat them. Harbaugh, but he's a cheater. They got caught. There's film out there. There's a case ongoing that they paid guys to go to games to steal signs and plays from other teams. So that championship has got an asterisk by it. So you can claim 3 in a row, but you really got Ohio State and now Indiana. It really ain't 3 in a row, is it? Is it really 3 in a row? Is there an asterisk by Michigan? He can't even come back to college football. His staff is so bad. And now all the other guys that's there, there's still guys there. This is one of the biggest scandals of college football ever. So how has NIL It's evened it out now where Bama and Georgia can't win it. That's what it's done. You don't tell me you can't. It's evened it out. Big Ten, they pay their players. It's better now. No, it's not. It's just made where the team that wants to have a big booster to drop a bunch of money to go buy a couple of older dudes, 10 or 12 guys, they can add them to their sprinkle into their team of 22 starters and play with some young talent. They can keep them around with the other bit of the money and develop them to try to build something and not just be a 1 year, one hit, Milli Vanilli, one hit wonder. Don't you know it's true? That kind of something. What it's done is what we just talked about. Texas Tech is out here giving a guy $10 million a year. They can live off the interest for life of just the interest of that $10 million would be $200,000-$300,000 a year off the interest. So it's not even things out. It's made it worse. What's West Virginia? How are they going to compete with that? Clemson, what they got? Miami does have some big donors. They got a bunch of big lawyers, and I don't even know. They ain't no telling what kind of other stuff they may have. I mean, we know what went on, what probably still goes on in Miami now. Right, but there's still a caveat by that because we know what happened. Michigan cheated. There was a case, and they proved all of it. Even from the stupid one, like him feeding the kids chicken fingers when they wasn't supposed to be there, blah, blah, which was dumb. I think that was a stupid one. But all the sign stealing had been going on for years at Michigan. They could just prove this amount. And once they proved enough to show they were guilty, they're guilty. For everybody that knows what happened, there is an asterisk right there because we've seen the case go down. So what's the outcome? Can we just keep letting the high players and all them to keep on continue to roll and roll and roll and make their case to, we'll just go out here and buy the best quarterback, the best defensive end, we'll buy a top running back? If money just won it all the time anyway, wouldn't you think Notre Dame would just win it all? Because they have more money than anybody. I mean, the Catholic Church has more money than all the teams put together. The Catholic Church, they own more property in this world than anybody. So if money just won it, then what would it be? Yeah, back in the day, the old Pony Express, you can find that on 30 for 30 at SMU. That's same. It's no different what they're doing now. How's it any different? It ain't no, it's worse. Now they can do it without hiding. They had to go to old Marcus's house to, buy him a new Trans Am to, get him to come play, whatever. And they kind of didn't hide it, but they got in trouble for it. So what's the whole diversity about then? I mean, all this new age talk is DEI stuff and, well, that's not what's happening. College football is not that because teams, these smaller teams like Clemson again, smaller ACC team, or what about, BYU, their church and stuff, they put a lot of money in their football program, but some of this for those type of schools like them or Notre Dame, the religious aspect to their universities is more important than football. So in some ways, they're not going to just go in there and pour out a ton of money just to the football team because they think there's things of the other than just football that life in general, following there, whatever, your belief is there for those, institutions. They put, money into that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But who besides Texas Tech or Texas or maybe A&M, those guys, big old people, who can go out and really give that type of money to keep up with it. So NIL has kept players in the league longer. You're seeing players be older now, like this quarterback we just talked about. He's going to be 24 years old. And all these guys that Indiana had, it was a payday for them to go to Indiana and get paid and be able to play together, those 17 that they brought, and sprinkle them in with some other guys. How many did they get that portal that last year? I can look. I think it was 35. But, hey, I think Lane didn't Ole Miss have about 30 guys come in year before? And you seen they, wound up with a quarterback. Their quarterback, Simmons, gets hurt. Shamlis comes in and did great. And he's appealing to play another year of college. But if he was going to go first round top, I looked up the other day, if you go 75th or higher in the NFL, the guarantee is like $7 to $9 million. So like Ty Simpson coming out, if he goes 50, if he's going to make $10 million, he'll get his signing bonus and all that stuff, and he'll get couple million up front and all that, and he'll have his rookie contract, and then he'll have to work out of that, after into his second year. So this case of NIL is just, argument to pay it out, and it's just created more opportunity for everybody across the board. That's not true. And I could do we may come Thursday. I may do a Thursday show just on NIL stuff. I may do that. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, and that don't get talked about. There's other sports that this stuff is affecting stuff too, because, the money is supposed to be a $20.5 million collective for all the schools that they can use for the sports overall. They don't mean 20.5 for the football team. That's supposed to be spread out to volleyball, softball, baseball, and all of them. Yeah, even the governor was involved in the SMU stuff. So this whole idea of it's made an equal playing field that's just not true. I mean, how has it equaled? Well, Indiana got to get in there. Yeah, but that's just a one team scenario. How's it going to affect the other teams? Is Illinois getting the same chance? About Minnesota? Is Minnesota got some big donor that's coming there and dropping a bunch of money to create this equality for college football for Minnesota? About Iowa. Iowa's on their brand of football. I mean, they're not going to win the national championship, but can they offer $10 million for life for a player? No. So it's not just made this thing out where it's just so much better for them. It's just better for the teams that can do it. And collectively, money-wise, sporting revenue, I seen a thing the other day, Alabama's and Georgia's and stuff ran right on that $1 billion mark. And then your mid-tier SEC schools, like it showed Auburn, was like at, $800 million, $750. And supposedly Lane, the LSU, they're supposedly going to spend $40 million on a team. It sounds like what I said this was going to be back in 2020 when they started talking about it in 21, that the haves and have-nots are not going to change. Because now, just think if you're a highly recruited freshman out of high school, if you go to one of these big teams and they're pressured by the fans, which has put more pressure on the program, the president and AD to win right now, or by God or else we'll just, too many universities listen to the fans and just instead of sticking with what they're going to do and keep their coaches. Do you want to go to a prominent school. You're Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Tennessee, Ohio State. You're a highly recruited kid, and you get out there on the practice field, and you have a good year. Ryan Williams had a great first year. Made some big catches. You look back on it, he just made some big plays in some big games that put his name on the board. Well, the next year he just becomes like a lot of second-year guys. He has some trouble with some little things, and they get in a portal guy, this Horton kid they got from Miami. They come, he's went on. And Ryan's like, well, there's another guy in the room here. So are you going to hang around that big program and say, well, I'll put in the time and I just want to be here to play this Mathis kid they got out of high school. Jeff, he plays over there at Georgia High School, a big name school. Was it Ware County or it was one of those? And he said that he was just, excited just to be at Alabama and taking the tour with his mama and his aunt. And he's looking forward to the opportunity and he getting his degree in sports management or something. And you don't hear those stories a lot. So what is these big recruits going to do? They're going to come in, hang around, and be a highly recruited, athlete to stay at a big school. And then that big school does something and goes out and recruits a guy that's 24. Now he's going to get more balls thrown at him because he's experienced and he's just played more football. And maybe you don't get as many balls thrown at you. Are you patient enough to be that highly recruited freshman in high school that's going to stay at practice and work hard and be that guy that don't want to just leave, but to hang around and try to build your brand? When you got an older guy that come from La Tech that was a lower recruited athlete out of high school, he come out as a top 200 receiver, and you're in the top 5. You're thinking, well, yeah, he's played 2 or 3 more years of football than you have, and the coaches know they can get him at a lower price. So does these schools, are they going to keep paying this big money out to high school recruiting? Because that's number one. If you want to develop, everybody keeps talking about development, keeping guys around. Well, Cignetti developed. Well, what? I guess the 17 he developed that hung with him that left James Madison to come over, and 14 of them were starters. I guess they were. But I think the kid the bracket kid, was he the one that's making all those catches the other night that made the 2 big catches? We can go right here and see our receiving guys. Yeah, Becker. The Becker kid is he's from Nashville, Tennessee. Wasn't a big recruited player. And their other big receiver, the Cooper guy, had 71 on the night. He's from up there. That's what the facts of the matter are. Yeah, they spent a $1.5 billion on a stadium at Northwestern. Now, where's Northwestern going to get some money? It's up north in there. It's a nice looking place. But how many seats are they going to hold? The high school players in some states that receive NIL, like Gigi received $2.5 million his senior year of high school. Yeah, and what is it? Does him like going to Colorado what does he do when he gets out there? Just use him for example. And they wound up playing the other kid out there, Salter kid. He's older and had played more football. North Chi-Town, yeah. So he got rotated in and out. So does that kind of rub him the wrong way? Juju at Colorado say, look, man, I come out, I was 5-star out of high school, state champion, played against some of the best defenses, some top 300 ESPN guys that he played against. Several games that he played against these top defenders in the nation. What's going to, like you say, NIL can keep them there longer, but it's all about them trying to build a brand for themselves. Yep. They wound up putting him in the last 4 games. But it don't turn out that way for everybody. Indiana had their quarterback, and they get Mendoza in, come in here this year, a guy that's played, got some experience, and he's smart. You can tell by him talking and how he carries himself. He's a smart guy. Practices his football through VR headset stuff. That's what he said. So what does this mean for Auburn being one of the near teams? What does it mean for Arkansas getting a new coach? What does it mean, for the Arkansas has Walmart money. I mean, they got Walmart printed all over their stadium. Does that mean that they're going to go out and spend some money and do some stuff? I tell you who has. Kentucky. Kentucky's had good portal class. South Carolina did pretty good too. Sellers is going to come back and play another year. So I guess lastly, the SEC dominance is just over. The Big Ten's won 2. They won back-to-back legitimate. Michigan did win 1, but we know what happened in that situation. I just think it's just upside down right now. I think probably overall, from top to bottom, I think the SEC is better. But the top of the Big Ten is better than the top of the SECs. I think that's a fair statement. And I think that's exactly the way it was 8 years ago in that area when Alabama was playing Clemson every year. Clemson was just winning the ACC. It wasn't a tough conference. Miami wouldn't really do anything. And what changed for Clemson then? Why did Dabo get out of this? Well, when NIL stuff come along, guys knew they just didn't have to hang around at Clemson and wait. And they saw some big-time players from Taj Boys and all those, Trevor Lawrence's, and they could come out and play somewhere else and make a opportunity for themselves to make more money. And Dabo's just got to hang in there and not really do much for the portal. He don't care about getting a whole lot of guys. He don't, he said that's not the number one priority. He wants to get people that really want to be there. So here's the question then, is what Dabo is doing in long term is that what's going to be I know they've been eating crap, man. They hadn't had real good seasons, but if we look back in 2030 and take a 10-year time, in that span, can Clemson get back in there and get back in the national championship game picture? Or is it just going to be, what we're seeing now with, Indiana just bringing some guys with them that's played for a long time together, getting 15 or 20 guys and bringing them in and be one and done and play a year and they're gone. They go their banking jobs, they go their sports management, their physical therapy jobs, whatever it is they're going to do. I don't know. Only way we're going to be able to tell is just by just time. But keep your eyes on the portal this week. If you got one of your favorite teams and whoever your favorite team is, there's going to be guys. I've already seen Mendoza's little brother. And that's what's so funny about this, how they're selling this, all together, all in family. And what we are here in Indiana, and Mendoza's brother is leaving because they brought in another quarterback, paid him some money, and obviously his little brother wasn't good enough because by evaluation from the coaches, they watched this other guy play, and they're going to pay him to come and be their quarterback. And his little brother don't want to hang around. He may go down to Florida and play it. He may wind up at Central Florida or something. A smaller school. We don't know. Well, but Jeff, in the long run, in a 10-year time, how's that going to – is it going to work out to where in the end they're going to figure out a way that this portal stuff it's going to slow down with this whole deal with this Minshew kid, Mensa, at Duke. We already seen what happened for the Williams kid at Washington. They made him stay. And if kids can just – because they do sign contracts. If they can just break out of that and not have to buy to it or have any enough, just have enough fortitude to stay with what you said you was going to do. They're going to pay you. If you really are that good, they're going to see you play. You're going to go to the combine from no matter what school you're at. And when you go to the combine, your talent's going to shine above everybody else's if you're really that good anyway. Richardson, played Florida, and he went out and went to the combine and absolutely killed it. Did great at the combine. And they thought, well, he's just a run-around quarterback and he can't throw it good. Well, at the combine, he did good. Colts took him. And then he got up there and he did sputtered and just kind of lost his spot. And then you've seen guys like Caleb Williams here recently at the Bears, done good. Yeah. Well, we're kind of thinking that eventually at some time we had Dexter Talbert, find him over at Dex Preps on Twitter or Facebook. He helps young guys get to college from high school. And we're going to see guys that are going to have real legal representation like the NFL does. You think they run? Yeah. Then that's just the way things are right now. I think once they fired Franklin at Penn State, it kind of set off these little trigger bombs, like all over the place. Like, people to just start firing your coach. And that, that was the whole idea of how everything was going to be done. That, just fire your coach, and that was the right thing to do. And we can just do it right here in the middle of during season, and it don't even matter. But man, what kind of, idea are you leaving for the kids that you're trying to recruit. Where's Penn State, finish recruiting? They're going to be able to get their guys to go in there and play their brand of football. They got a new coach. And we're seeing guys like Whittingham come in over at Michigan. His style of football is different from kind of what they've been used to playing. So is Dabo just going to be the next guy on the chopping block? Because the experiment at Indiana does the experiment continue on? Do they have the staff to keep them there? To keep bringing in these guys of older stature, and they're just going to be like the Kentucky of college basketball. Dean liked to talk about that a lot, and he'd say how Kentucky kids just come in and play 1 year, and they make the Sweet 16 or make the Elite 8 or something, and they get beat because they're just young and they haven't played together enough, and then they bounce the NBA. Is that just what we're seeing in Indiana right now? They'll come in and play year or 2 years. They'll be their, fourth year and fifth year seniors, and they just come in and take care of business. And I'm going to say it's going to be hard for them to keep their staff together. And that was the downfall of Alabama. He was able to keep a lot of his guys, mostly Kirby. He was able to keep them around a long time. But we've seen guys from his LSU time, from, Muschamp, which is at Texas now, but he's back in the game. He's back in the game coaching again. Sark feels like that Muschamp still has something to give. If he's still got something to give, then to give some energy to their defense, and that's what they're going to do. So I'm really curious to see how Texas, turns out next year. And there's a preseason top 25. We can look at that, because that, I ain't even going to pull it. It means as much now as it does in July. We have no clue. We have a better clue in August, because at least we'll have some kind of idea what the rosters look like. So we know Indiana's going to lose at least a quarter of their team, just right off, just from being seniors into the draft. And I'm sure they're going to lose 10 guys or so, probably in the portal. Miami's going to probably have some guys leave. They have some guys graduating. Can that experiment of college football that we're seeing right now, can it just continue on to grow to where it just gets more watered down, to where just some of the smaller schools, they get some, some talent. Maybe the big schools still get some big talent, but like we'll say, top receiver, we know in the state of Alabama was C.D. Morgan, Benjamin Russell. He comes to Bama, and he plays a little bit next year. Maybe he don't play a lot, still, figuring out plays and where he fits in. And he you get, well, he's a good player. I'm going to get his jersey or something. Then he leaves. Cam Coleman come in, play 2 years, highly recruited guy. And Freeze just couldn't get him the ball enough. And I don't know, they want to blame the coaches all the time. It's never the player's fault. Was he getting developed good enough? Well, we're going to find out when he gets to Texas. He'll have a better quarterback throwing to him than he's ever had in college. And that's on Freeze for keeping Thorne around. And then getting Jackson Arnold. Why? Golly, man. It's hard. It was hard for them to try to go get a big portal portal quarterbacks. That, I remember the talk being Cam Ward, trying to get him in Auburn or something. A guy that played a year, been out west, and then come to Auburn and play. Well, they'd only won, 5 games. And so you're going to have to pay that kid more than you would Jackson Arnold. Because Jackson would come because he got benched halfway through the season in Oklahoma, so of course he's going to come. So where does the experiment end? I just don't see how it could be anything of where just to be able to keep those kind of guys. And do you just want to see college football that way, where you just have a team come in and you just start to get to know your favorite player on your team at Indiana, and then they graduate? Like, man, he's only here like 2 years. Like, well, we got the win. We're known. We're national champions now. Yes, they did. And they figured it out. And the model that he used, can anybody else go do that? Can Heupel just do that? Or can Lane just, go to LSU and say, well, I'm just going to leave some of these LSU players out, and Ole Miss, I'm just going to start bringing in, these guys. And then I'm going to go down to La Tech and maybe go down to Tulane and Central Florida and just, grab about a dozen players from down there. And, how about 10 starters sprinkled to the team that are 24, 25-year-old, have a couple of linemen and maybe a receiver, a tailback, and quarterback that's older. And some of the other spots, we'll play some of our guys and, and still develop our lower, age, young men, the good freshmen that we have. But if they just want to play, they want to hang around. How do you, because recruiting high school players a top development way is number one when you talk to any GMs at college now. And two is high school recruiting, and then it's, to retain your players that you already have on the roster, to keep them. You want to be able to keep those guys. It's like the story with Keon Keeley, to come in, gain weight, change positions. Wow, what a story. Then he leaves. And then lastly, you want to be able to use some of that other money in the portal. So you got high school recruiting. You got to have young guys to bring up in the program. And then you want to retain those guys the next year. And then also that next year to maneuver to keep those guys and not let their feelings get hurt, because you're going to have to go in the portal and there's another older guy that wants to come in and he wants to play that position too, but he's got 2 more years of experience. You're a sophomore, he's a senior. How is that going to be able to work on that middle thing of developing players? Because that's the thing is retention. High school recruiting, retention, portal. High school recruiting, retention of players, and then your portal class. That's the order that I'm seeing from all the GMs from the big schools of Georgia, Tennessee, LSU's, Ohio State and stuff. Man, college football season is over. Played our last game yesterday. Indiana wins the national championship, first time 16-0 since the 1890s from a Yale team. Is it just going to be will they be another Colorado? I remember back in the day, they had this little run at it there for a while, and I remember being in high school and, middle school, high school, 8th, 9th grade, and they were a team to beat. And, at that time, I remember Florida State being good and Deion coming through, right during that time and a little after. Texas winning, Vince Young, that is the number one college football game of all time. When you look it up, when you even ask people the best game, Texas beating the guys, beating USC. That's what we got. And this year with this playoff, we had number 10 versus number 1. They didn't even win their conference. Miami didn't even finish second. They didn't even play for their conference title. That would be the real Romeo and Juliet story. I mean, the going undefeated is cool for Indiana, and them never winning one. And Miami's already won 4 or 5. But wouldn't it have been cool for Miami to say, we lost to Louisville and SMU, but we found a way, to come and win this anyway and represent our home state here? That'd been a cool story too. So is Indiana just going to be, are they going to be Texas when Vince won it? And then Texas ain't, they've been around. They played for the SEC the other year, but they ain't really done that. I mean, just in the big picture, Alabama, they played for their conference championship too. Won 11 games. Hey, it's a good season, man. Ain't nobody knocking it. Texas had good seasons. But to be in a semifinal or be in a national championship game, I think those are the kind of things that you want to see from a Texas, from Alabama. You want to see them being in a semifinal game. And if they lose it, they lose a close game, So, what do you want to see as fans of the game? What's your, do you think Indiana's just going to be that team that just comes in like the old Colorado or the old Texas team that just comes in and gets them one, and then they may play for the Big Ten title again sometime, but just kind of, you don't hear much else about it. OCs and DCs take other jobs like Oregon. Dan Lanning's lost both his coaches. Both of them. They're gone. He's got to replace that. And that's what comes with success. And with how things are so wild and being good for TV and making plenty of money, because this year they said that it was the highest ratings they've ever had for college football because of the chaos. People are tuning in. Does NFL guys want to come down and be OC or DC for college teams? You have superstars like Mike Tomlin, and that post I shared the other day, and I shared that just being funny that Tomlin would come to Alabama. Him and Courtney Morgan, the GM at Bama, are friends. They know each other pretty well from what I've read. God, who wouldn't want, any institution would love to make that hire, because just from what I know about Tomlin over the past, 15 years or so, he's a great guy. Players, I don't hear, like, there's, one guy said something bad about him out of 1,000 players that he's coached. And that's just, what's his name? Big old huge strong guy that played for him. He's just kind of crazy. Yeah. So do you want to have NFL coaches come to your college and coach? Is that something likely? They don't seem like it. You always hear every time the Falcons have a job open, you always hear Kirby. And Penix being the quarterback there, you heard they may call DeBoer and offer him. They probably called not DeBoer, and people say they called his agent to see if maybe he'd be interested in the job. And obviously he said no. He's enjoying what he's doing right now. He's trying to build something at Bama. Because deep down in your gut, that staff there. I mean, they've already lost one guy. They lost Sheridan to Michigan State. And they lost a receiver coach to go be a head coach at Oregon State. They won 11 games, and they're already losing coaches because they think they have something special to offer their team because they came from Bama. That's just how it is, right? Yeah, make a movie about it. Cignetti probably makes some money on that. The kids of the final two teams are penalized in the portal because I've already, yeah, it's true. They're behind the court. Yeah. Now they can, there's a stipulation they can get in the portal now. But like you said, like, well, what if, Mississippi State needs to add a few guys? Maybe one of the guys that's, plays at Indiana or Miami, maybe they're from Alabama or Mississippi. Maybe they want to come, and come back toward home or something. I don't know. And maybe play at Georgia or something. Well, they, call Kirby and say, hey, it's so-and-so, offensive lineman here at Indiana. I got a year eligibility left. And you're thinking, golly, I'd love to have a guy from a national championship team. He knows what it's like to work at it. He understands the regimen of practice and being on time. And he's played a lot of football, a lot of postseason football. But darn, we just got two linemen. I mean, what am I going to do with this one guy? We just got, and I just, paid him, $250,000, $300,000. You're going to go to him and say, well, we're decided we're changing. So you just flush that money. He's got it now. He moves on. But now where's he going to go? He can't go back in the portal because it's closed. That's why the like Saban said, for a year or 2 or 3 years, and him and Lane are both big on that the schedule is just, Lane's stipulation with going to LSU. Why would you make a guy leave in the middle of the year? That's not, if this is for the kids, like we hear through high school stuff we have to deal with here, it's for the kids. No, it's not. You're doing it to make money. There's so many liars and people reaching in your pocket all the time. The scheduling is terrible. College football shouldn't be that way that scheduling is. You can't have to make a coach leave in the middle of the year. How fair is that? How fair is it to offer Lane a job and he's like, well, you got to take it now. You got 2 days. Dude, we're fixing to go to the playoffs. All this time and sweat, blood, and tears that I spent here at Ole Miss, and I just got to leave right now. Well, what if I want to bring some of my staff with me? I like these guys. We've done a good job here. I'd like to replicate that and go to LSU where it's a little easier to get better talent here than it is at Ole Miss. It just is. Why is that fair? Is that fair to him or the players? It's not. And like you said about, kids in the Natty, it's penalized them to the portal because their classes have already started and they're behind. I mean, they could be behind in coursework, which if they're fifth-year seniors, they already graduated anyway. They're not going to be behind their classwork because they've already graduated. They got a year eligibility left and they don't even have class. They'll go sign up for a master's program and go to Georgia and take some one online class a week. And then, some tutor is going to do the class for them anyway as they get their master's in sports management. Right? So they won't be behind their coursework. Now the younger ones would, some kids it's going to be behind the 8 ball a little bit. We've got to change the schedule of when the portal opens and closes, and it needs to be, right before spring football, but it's got to be after the championship game. Do y'all know this, that I'm going to look just to be sure that I'm not crazy. National championship game for next year. CFB title game for 2027. January the 25th. They're going to stretch it even further. It's going to be in Las Vegas. It'll be I guess it'll be the Fiesta Bowl. It won't be the bowl really. It'll be a champion, national championship game. No, January 25th next year. It's already set on a Monday night, making the first time Las Vegas will host this event. So it's at Alliance Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. So where the crap is that at? That is, it's the Raiders Stadium. So the Raiders are going to host the national championship game next January. It won't be in Miami. It's going to be out there. Host Super Bowl 58, the Raiders Stadium. It's the accommodating about 70,000 major event. Standard 65 expands to 72. Wow. So that's where it's going to be at next year. It's right off the interstate, so at least it'll be easy access. But how much is tickets going to be? How much is tickets going to be that national championship game this year? They already said that in Indiana, Miami tickets were just crazy. I mean, I seen Ocho Cinco. Ocho was saying he wanted to take his son to the game, and he's a millionaire. That it kind of scared him off because the ticket price is so high. And he's got plenty of money. $20,000. Yes. What are you going to do? How are you going to be able to take your kid to some of these games? I mean, walking the door ticket price was probably $1,500 to set up top. In the back somewhere, you and your son go, it's $3,000. You buy a $10 bottle of water, 2 hot dogs, $20. There's no way you can keep it up that way. There's no way it can just be sustainable to continue college football. We're going to have 2026 college football, guys. It's season ended for 25. 26 is going to kick up. And I'm going to be right back here come July. And we'll start going through these 16 SEC teams, and we'll look at each team's schedule 3 days a week, Lord willing. And we'll talk about the rosters, who's starting and who looks promising. I like Texas this year. I remember, Jeff, you remember me and Dean breaking these teams down and talking about who we like to win national championship. And we liked Ohio State. We thought they'd be okay. Probably thought they had a good shot at winning the Big Ten. We knew their running game, without Junkins and them losing those guys, it's going to be hard for them to run the ball, and it was going to do the same thing. Ohio State was just like Alabama to me. They didn't run the ball well. They just didn't have the guys yet. You'll have a first-year starting quarterback that he's going to be okay, but defense is pretty good. You got a solid leader back there. Like Bama's got Sabb or Hubbard, running the defense. Well, Downs is gone. I think Ohio State next year will be offensively probably be Smith's going to be back. Sayin will be back. They'll have a lot of their linemen come back. They've added some guys in the portal. They've added 3 guys, 2 defensive guys for Bama that they produced some here at Bama. I'm not going to sit up here and be one of those guys the fans like, well, we lost them. They wasn't worth crap. You can have them. Well, I liked Quay. I really liked James Smith. I really liked him. He was like one of those crazy killers. He may be you got to keep an eye on him. He may get and mess up your locker room. He's crazy, which is you want a guy that, like Deion said, you want guys that come from a single family to be like your linebacker or something. He was, just saying he wants guys to be a little bit out there, play a little crazy. I thought he brought that. And so they're going to add those guys. Texas again, they're going to say we're back again. Every year Texas is back. We're back. Let's go. Hook 'em. They're going to have a good receiving room. Backfield's going to be good. I think they figured out most of their offensive line troubles this past season. Got a returning quarterback. And there's not a lot of quarterbacks. Him and Gunner are kind of going to be the ones returning. Tennessee's looking for one. Auburn's going to start a new quarterback. And that Mateer kid, or McIntyre, at Tennessee, I think he's good. I watched him play in high school. And he comes from one of those academies up there. He's really good. That high school is known for having good quarterbacks. Mississippi State, the Taylor kid's really going to be good. I don't know where Arkansas is going to land at. Van Buren left from LSU. That he's kind of, he's going to be playing Leavitt, and he's, been fine out there at Arizona State. But and when you say, well, you come to SEC, it's going to be harder. Well, here's the thing behind that. It's not just what you can do in a one-off to beat one of the top 5 SEC teams, but it's to beat one of them, and then the next 4 weeks you play them consecutively, week after week after week after week, and all those teams are going to have some first-round NFL teams. It's where you're going to start the season, and this summer as we get into July. After media days, we'll start going to schedules and rosters and looking at that. And Missouri, bro, Beulah, he left. Where'd he go to? Yeah, he entered the portal way back. He ain't even going to tell me. I'm going to have to go. I'll have to go over here and find it. Portal tracker. Team SEC. And we'll go to Missouri. The Lanier kid, he come from Minnesota to Missouri. Why does it not? He went to Virginia. Yeah. He's a redshirt junior. So their quarterback, was gone to Virginia. Why? What? Golly, man. Left Missouri to go to Virginia. I know they were a good team in the ACC. I mean, they win the ACC. Play for your conference championship. I guess he thought they're not going to be able to play for it here, so he just digs off to head out. Yeah, well, the SEC is just adding that ninth game. They're going to have. There's going to be. I'll tell you right now, early prediction. There'll be a lot of two-loss SEC teams, and they're sticking to the 12-team playoff. If they're not going to value strength of schedule, then they ain't gonna get in. That because they're just gonna go win-loss. Indiana. We can look at their schedule. I done told you. North Texas, Howard, Western Kentucky. That's what they open the season with. They play Ohio State, the 17th. Then they got Minnesota, Northwestern, ain't been ranked in I don't know how long. Purdue, they play USC, Michigan, Nebraska, Rutgers, and Washington. So they're to start out the year. They start their opening season in 27. Check out this cake. This month of September, Indiana, Kennesaw State, Indiana State, UMass. They're going to get Illinois. And then Iowa, Michigan, Penn State, Rutgers, Michigan State, Minnesota, Purdue, USC. So I don't see Ohio State for 27. 28, Austin Peay, Eastern Michigan, Miami of Ohio. So year after year after year after year after year. The month of September for them is just cake. You can play easy teams, get your team together, and see what you got going on. Alabama's going to start with, and don't tell me that South Carolina State is the same equivalent with Kentucky. Alabama's going to play Eastern Carolina open, okay, and get their start of the season game to see where you at, run some plays, how we running, how we doing, 2026 Bama. Then they're going to go to Kentucky, which they've recruited in the portal well. I ain't saying that they're going to – I'm sure Bama will be favored by 2 touchdowns to beat them probably. But one game under Kentucky's belt and Bama's, how are we really going to know? Then Bama's going to play Power 4 teams all the way through. Florida State, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Georgia, Tennessee, A&M, LSU, Vandy. Then they'll play Chattanooga. So they got Chattanooga and Eastern Carolina. East Carolina start, Chattanooga towards the end before the Iron Bowl. Indiana starts the whole month of September with these teams. Now, 2027, next year for Bama, they're going to open with Marshall. Jeff, they're going to travel to Ohio State. And then we're going to see how Summerall's done at Florida by year 2 for him. They're going to play host Florida at home. Then they got Mississippi State, Missouri, Tennessee, Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and Auburn. 1, 2. I think Auburn will be ranked 27. 3, 4 Texas, 5 Tennessee, and Florida or Mississippi State is going to be ranked. So that's 6, and then Ohio State, Alabama in 2027 could play 7 or 8 ranked teams. 7 or 8. In 28, Bama will open in Tuscaloosa September the 9th, 2028 with Ohio State. Then they play UT Martin. Then they got Oklahoma State, and they're going to put them on the schedule. And then, of course, Kentucky, LSU, Vandy, Georgia, Auburn, Mississippi State, SC, Tennessee, A&M. Oh, boy. I think 28, Auburn's going to be ranked. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, 8 or 9 ranked ball games. Ranked teams are going to play in 28. 29 is where the year they start with Notre Dame. They're going to be at Notre Dame. That's crazy. There's no reason to open. In 29, they're going to open Notre Dame and play. They'll host Oklahoma State that year. Then the rest of the games is all conference games. Florida, Texas, Missouri, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Let's just look at 2033 just to be funny if they got any games scheduled. They already got Arizona to open. They're going to play Minnesota 2033. So, oh, my God. There's no way it's going to work out. There's no way you can play 7 or 8 ranked teams and win all them games. And I just showed you Indiana's schedule for next year and in the next 3 years. The month of September, they don't even play a Power 4 team. One of the years they got, who was they had early? Purdue early or something. Ohio State. They got them at the end of the month on one of those years. So this scheduling and trying to recruit high school players, then trying to keep the ones that you got last year. And what's happened with some of the newer coaches and what Golish is trying to do right now is not overpay now. So then next year they come back and ask for money. And then they're like, well, you paid me $300,000 last year. I want $400,000. Well, you didn't do quite so well. I'm out of here. F you. Okay, see you, buddy. They had to let Cam go, and that was why. Because Freeze paid him too much to keep him. Year 1, he probably got decent money. Then he's like, well, I'm bouncing. He'd visited Alabama. He's friends with Ryan Williams. Oh, gosh, we can't lose him. Let's pay him. Let's go ahead and give him that 1.5. He got a deal with Popeyes. Got him some money. Good for him. And then they had to pay him to keep him. So what do you think he's going to do? He's coming back for year 3. He's like, well, I want 2. We can't pay you 2, bro. Cam, how can we pay you $2 million? We can't pay you that much. So with the pace that we are at here for college football, some things there's got to be a big change. There's got to be something historical to happen. Keep your eye on the page through the week to see what happens. This Mincy kid at Duke, see how that works out for him. If he goes to Miami, if that's the school I guess he's wanting to go to, and they're going to pay the other half of his contract, $4 million, they're going to buy him, pay his contract. I can't believe we're talking about college football. Guys, I was born in the 70s. This is still a little weird to me. We're going to buy out a player's contract in college. The other 4 he's owed. Miami writes a check to Duke to get him. Then they're going to pay him $10 million. I heard some the Eckersley Wingham played at the Patriots. I heard him on a podcast on Coach JB show the other day, and he was just saying, talking about college football and players and pay and how he wished, like golly, when I was around, and I wish I could have got paid. He's like, where is the return, for this money? Like these donors are writing off these big checks and they're putting out all this money out there. What's the return on the money? Say 29. I think I skipped that one. Let's see, Ben said 29. Okay. There's 26, 7, 28, 29. I think that's the one I didn't look at. Yeah, I did look at that one. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we went to that one. We looked at, and they're going to play Arizona in 2033. Yeah, they're going to open the season in Indianapolis. I'll go to Notre Dame, 2029. What about that? Yeah. And, Notre Dame and Texas, Notre Dame's back every year. Freaking chickens won't even play a bowl game. Well, our players met, and we just decided, shut up. Freaking Freeman, what a joke, man. Marcus Freeman, what seemed like such a great guy, and then he does something like that just totally wrecks an idea of him and to keep up with the Joneses and try to be sharp and, well, we're not going to play a bowl game. What? Why do you? It's an opportunity for players, especially ones going pro, to play another game. They could have a breakout game. What if they have a breakout game and it adds value? Well, it could decrease value. Well, if you stand in the batter's box and you never swing the bat, you're guaranteed to strike out and be a loser your whole life. Old guy I used to coach with, he got a kid after the game, and the kid batted twice in this game. And all he told, the kid cried after this, and all he said was, fear of failure will be the worst thing in your life that'll just crush you if you never try. If you swing the bat, when I coached more baseball than football. If you swing the bat and you strike out, I'm going to pat you on the helmet and say, you're all right, we're going to figure it out. And I know at practice, I'm looking at how he's swinging or what he's doing, things I can work on with him. But if he never swings the bat, I don't know what to do. And he just told the kid fear of failure is a travesty in life. And Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame, being the pug that he is, not only wouldn't play a bowl game because of fear of failure, those guys need to play they may have a breakout game. What if one of the linemen just does awesome and like increases linemen don't go first round, usually third round. What if he plays a great game and bumps his value to a second round, and that picks him up like $3 or $4 million, and you don't know yet because he didn't play in his bowl game. And then Notre Dame won't play USC because they got to meet us in the middle. You, Notre Dame, have all the flexibility. Well, we've already locked in with Rice for that week. You're Notre Dame. It's Rice. Would you rather play Rice or USC? If you're scared, just say you're scared. And it seems like that's what Notre Dame just did. They wouldn't play USC now. I know why, and I'll tell you why in a second. But they don't. To say that we can't, break this, schedule, we got with Sacramento State. You're going to pay that team to play them. Why not have a great gate and split the money and play USC, maybe even at a neutral site. You both make money because Notre Dame don't need no money from nobody. They're Notre Dame. They got Catholic Church money. They told them no because of the same reason what they saw, what Indiana, for example, were just using them, not like the other teams don't do this too. Because I could go through some other schedules, some other conferences, but they're not doing it because they don't want that. They don't want that smoke to start the year. We just looked at Indiana's their month of September. They play nobody. There's one of the years they play. I think it's next year they play Ohio State, week 4. But the other ones, like week 1 through 3 and 1 through 4, they're playing nobody. And Notre Dame's going, that's what we need to do right there. Play crap teams. And let's see. Let's go over here and FCS college football schedule. Where is Notre Dame? 26 schedule, Notre Dame. They don't want to play USC because they're playing Rice, Michigan State, Purdue, North Carolina, Navy. They're opening with Wisconsin over USC. They play Wisconsin, Rice, Michigan State, Purdue the month of September. Ain't none of them teams going to be ranked. Not one of them. Well, at least they do have just Rice, but they're supposed to play USC or put Wisconsin there and open with USC. We've already locked that in. Michigan State's 19th. We can't move that. Yeah, you're not held by any conference that says you have to play this schedule, Notre Dame. You're independent. You don't have a conference directors, commissioners coming to you like USC, and they're saying you have 9 conference games. And you have 3 other weeks, you can fill that in with Notre Dame somewhere. But this week's right here, X through Y through Z, those are locked. Notre Dame don't have anybody saying X and Y and Z are locked. Notre Dame can schedule all FCS teams if they really wanted to and just write checks for $200,000 and play 10 games and just write out a check for $20 million or $2 million or for the season. Just buy a season, spend $2 or $3 million on paying all these teams to come to your play. You don't even have to travel. They don't have who says they have to travel and go play at anywhere? They ain't nobody telling them they're independent. Notre Dame can play every game at home and play every swinging from Rice to Kennesaw States to Indiana States to South Carolina States to Rice and North Texas and the meat department up there at the Jollibee. To one of the teams they can put together up there at the Iowa 80 truck stop. And nobody could do nothing. Notre Dame 27 opens with Purdue. They go to Michigan State. They play in Auburn week 3 at Notre Dame. Then they're going to play Georgia Tech. Then they're going to go to play Wake, VTech, Clemson, Navy, BYU. That's what they got so far. Notre Dame, you can move your schedule. Yeah, it is, Ben. That schedule is very weak. It's a very, very weak schedule. Once they didn't get to the playoff, they got to compete with a contract with the college football playoff, and then if they're in the top 10, then they're in that's BS. Everybody needs to make that. You can't just say, well, if we finish top 10, then they're in the top 10 besides the automatic qualifiers like the JMUs and the Tulanes, which that's why Notre Dame ought to be mad. James Madison took their spot. It wasn't Alabama. Alabama finished the regular season number 1 in the SEC. 1. Georgia was 2. Georgia won it. Bama finished 2. Or did they finish 3? Because Ole Miss. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. It's not Bama. They won enough games in their conference to represent their conference to play for the conference championship. That's the goal. Most time Alabama fans, that was the whole goal for them. We can just be, competitive, play for the SEC and make the playoffs. We're good here. No, you're not. You want 11 games, and they are losing their minds. Well, we couldn't run the ball. Well, next year we run the ball. Well, we couldn't punt the ball far. Well, we got a 70-yard punter now this time, so that won't be an excuse. But, yeah, Notre Dame they can move their schedule. They're saying, well, we don't have, we've already locked in that game with Rice. You're going to pay Rice. What are they going to pay Rice? $700,000 probably. I mean, Bama used to play, was it Central Florida or South Florida, I think. Anyway, Mal Moore, when he was AD at Bama, he was friends with the AD down there. And they were buddies, and the deal was you come up here and play Bama. We write you $1 million check. I've heard this from people close to the situation. This is after Nick had been there a few years. And they would get a check for $1 million, and they used the money to help their band and the football team, buy them some new shoulder pads and that type of stuff. Well, just pay Rice half of what if you're going to pay him $1 million, we'll just give him $500,000, tell him not to show up, and we're going to play USC. Because you can do that. Because USC's schedule is locked in. They can't just move. They offered to pretty much. They said, "We'll play if you want to, wherever you want to play." But there's certain weeks we can't play. Oh well, then it's off. Then, well, you got to be able to play. And they knew, like, we got to play October 3rd. Well, we're locked in to play Oregon that day. That's the freaking conference game. We can't just tell Oregon to move over for Notre Dame. I know in your mind, Notre Dame, you think you're really important, but really you're not. We can't move conference games. You can move your games because you don't have a conference. You don't have a commissioner saying, well, no, that November 1st, no, Notre Dame, you can't just pencil in the SC now. You got to play Miami. No, they don't. They're such pitiful, excuse-making, crybaby, whiny. It's just ridiculous. When they sign a contract, they don't understand that the contract's law. They need to take a law course in college football. Yeah, we're going to see this week this Mushu kid, whatever his name is, Mensa at Duke. So, again, keep looking on the page, and I'll fill you in once I get more information. Yeah. And I imagine all those – I think those SEC teams, the final top 5 is Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, A&M, Texas. And those teams they'll be back in the running next year. We'll look more into them. And Georgia, they lost some players. They added some people they needed. Just from 1 through 5, to me, a real quick take on it being Georgia's got to get some kind of defensive pass rush game going on. I really want to see them step up in the wide receiver room. I really need to see some guys out there like they used to have. Bama's got offensive line troubles out the wazoo, but they've added pretty much an all-new offensive line, except for Michael Carroll. He's going to come back and play. Probably be a right tackle. They got the Haywood guy from Michigan. They're probably going to be at left tackle, I guess, or they may be vice versa. They got 2 guards from like Mississippi State. And one from Mississippi State, and I got them all put up there on the page we talked about the other day. So they've added those pieces. Ole Miss, I don't know. It's like if we go get a quarterback, then what if Chambliss wins the case and he comes back, and then we got a quarterback in the room, that wanted to play. They got Deuce Knight. But if Chambliss comes back, he'll have to wait another year. He could have waited a year behind Brown at Auburn. So they're kind of in a pickle there, and they've lost a few guys. Ole Miss has lost a few guys. Texas A&M, I'm just not a real big Reed fan personally. I think he does okay, but he has moments that it's like he just tries too hard, tries to push the ball up the field, and he'll throw like a pick or two every game, and that's a problem. So their quarterback room is going to have to be tight. They're going to have to develop these guys, and Ole Miss has really got to work on Deuce Knight, because I don't think he can run around like crazy. He's a great athlete, but arm talent's just not. It's going to be tough on Ole Miss, and like I said, A&M with Reed. Running backs, they've added some guys. I'm a little worried about their defense a little bit. I'm going to have to dive deeper into A&M and see how many come out and what they added. And then Texas, man, they've got it. Their offensive line, most of them's going to be back. Quarterback's back. They've added a good backup guy in Smothers at tailback, and receiver room's going to be good. Defensively, they've added some guys also on defense. I mean, Texas should really be if they don't make the playoffs, man. Talking about a hot seat, man. If Sark don't make the freaking playoffs, Gibbons' first year in SU, yeah. I don't ever count that old Kiffin. Yeah, I know. I got to look into Texas's defense, being to see kind of where they're at, what's going on, and how it's going to fit in for the coming season. And we know that the defenses that they're going to see, because college football is just not as great as it used to be. We all know that. These players are not – they're not getting developed very well because they're not hanging around long enough to buy into a coach and what he wants to do. Well, that's enough for today. I just want to stay on a little longer and just talk to you guys and hang out because, might not be around much. A little bit here and there. So the experiment, it did work out, but it's not sustainable, and people don't need to be foolish. That people that really watch college football, they know there's fans of that school, and they're going to think that they can win it. They can just they don't understand those players are leaving, et cetera, et cetera. And it's that blueprint. It's not going to work everywhere because everywhere is not Indiana, and that's just the way it is. And the media talk was just silly crap about they're all saying about how he didn't pay for players. He didn't have to go out and buy players. He did it the right way and developed them. What are you talking about? Dude, he did get players he got 15 players from all over the place and brought 17 with him from James Madison. Yes, he did pay players. He just didn't have to overpay because they didn't have no resume. So that's media talk. They sound so stupid when they say that. And the Big Ten demands, Petitti says he'll sign to play a 16-team playoff for 27, but he's not going to sign it for that it's going to work for 27 and 28. He's just going to sign it to where it says it's good for 27, but 28, by God, they'll be playing a 24-team playoff, and that's just the way it's going to be because he thinks he's the boss, and college football has a new commissioner, Petitti, because Petitti thinks he's the boss. And as long as Greg Sankey is doing what he's told and they're playing non-conference games, so that's what the SEC's doing, it's going to hurt them because they're going to have less wins. So that was it for the day. Then we talked about a bunch of NIL stuff. And can this type of play go on forever for college football? All right, we'll come back maybe Thursday and see what else is happening. I may have some other good news for you. Keep your eye on the page on Facebook. hit the old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you hadn't already, sure would appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 1,000, man. If we get to 1,000 subscribers, that'd be awesome. Would appreciate it. So we'll see you guys in the future sometime. Be blessed. Keep your heads clear and your hearts full of God. We do appreciate you.